Bachelor Travelers, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Tavat, a Genshin lore podcast. Last week, we traveled to Fontaine, where we talked all about champion duelist Clorinde. This week, we're heading to Natlan, where we're going to be talking about the current Pyro Archon, Moeka.
Are you burning up for visuals? Well, head on over to our website, talesoftavat.com, where Tiff has gathered the ancient names into a dedicated page for each episode, including this one, blazing with references to things that we have discussed.
If you like what you see on that page of our site, you should check out our past episodes as well. Each touch on important topics that we covered, give links to some of our IRL mentions, and include artist spotlights and some TikToks.
Finally, feel free to email Albedo at talesoftavatpod@gmail.com, where he will be screening all letters for Anthrax before sending them our way. So let us know what you thought of this week's episode, what topics you'd like to see in the future, and if you have any questions about anything going on the podcast or in the game. Travelers can also feel free to check out our Ko-fi, where you can buy us a cup of coffee, or check out our merch store, where all proceeds go to making sure that this podcast is able to properly run and that we are able to open the Twink Tank at least for Twink Tuesday. It's our new gimmick.
You gotta have one these days.
Yeah, we have a lot of gimmicks. We have that paint night that happens. I think we have ladies' night, which doesn't really make sense for the Twink Tank, but it's fine.
We gotta take care of the Twink Tank during Pride Month.
Yes, please, guys. Do it for Pride. It is.
And it's almost over.
Well, while we still have Pride, I am here to talk all about Moeka. But before we jump into Moeka, we do have a special guest here with us.
Oh my god, who is it? Who is
Who's
it?
at the end of the bar? Is it Melty from the Resonance?
Hey!
Hi, Melty.
Sadly, I couldn't crash through the window this time. You just had to let me in and let me sit down here. How nice of you.
Charles told us that if we had someone crash through the window again, we wouldn't be able to record here.
Yeah, we were gonna have to pay for it.
It's all right. It's all right. I didn't get the spider tingly feeling weird thing that happened last time. Instead, I was invited. So it's a lot better of an experience this time. And right off the bat, I can see that Kirara is giving me the death glare again.
Yeah.
I don't blame her, but I do come prepared. Hello, Kirara. I bring you straight from Nagcry as a kind of a peace offering. I have these fish-filled krumkakes.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna place them over here on the opposite side of the table. Have them if you want. And I'm sorry for crashing in on you last time.
For travelers who don't remember, the last time Melty joined us here at Angel Share for a podcast recording, he crashed through a window onto Kirara.
Yeah.
So he's got some making up to do.
That wasn't my proudest moment.
I mean, I think your bribe is working. I think I hear her purring a little bit.
Okay, that's good. You know, maybe by the end of this, she won't want to kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be
Progress.
friends now.
Baby step.
For travelers who also don't know, Melty is joining us from the Resonance podcast. And Melty, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's been going on over at the Resonance?
Oh boy. Well, at the Resonance, we cover more current things that happens every week through Genshin. Most recently, we've been covering, at the time of recording, of course, we are currently going through the current Sumeru Welcome Moon quest that's been going on, and that's been fun to talk about, of course. Of course, I'm not going to say everything that happens there because spoilers, but it's been fun, you know. Me, my other co-host Emerald, who loves lore just as much about you guys, and then our main host Ran, who loves to be a little grumpy grump, but we all have fun on our show doing that. And yeah, I mean, it's been fun to just chat with them and do things week after week. And it's been exciting.
We love listening to the Resonance, and we love catching up with Melty and Ran and Emerald. And Ran actually introduced us to a ship that we'll talk about today, Capri Sun.
Best name.
Oh, yeah.
Never forget the work that he did to make sure that I knew about
Rand
that.
did, huh?
I have a Capri Sun with me, guys, so it's legit. But like an actual strawberry kiwi Capri Sun.
Wait, Melty, was it you and not Ran? Is that what you're implying?
No, it was me.
Was it?
You don't remember when I sent in my Kirara mail? I forget which episode it was, but you read it off, and I was talking about what are your favorite Genshin ships, and I listed one of my favorites, and it was Capri Sun.
Oh yeah, I think
I'm
it was
thinking of when we
Melty.
did the Twitch stream where we talked about our favorite ships. That's when
Well,
I remember hearing about it first.
Ooh,
Hmm.
Capri Sun Gate.
which stream was that? Was that Forever Lost Smash or Pass stream that
Yes.
maybe did or did not
Yes.
happen?
That only happened if you watched it live.
The episode that you're talking about, though, Melty, is our Yaimiko one from last season. It was you were in our Curare mail talking about Capri Sun, which I
Oh.
still gives me so many giggles.
Well, that's really funny because Yaimiko was the episode before Farina, which was the one I was on.
Oh, you mean the episode where you talked about how you were the biggest Fossilors fan?
Yes, that would be the one.
You know, maybe on second thought, maybe I should take these Komtakis back. You know,
Whoa, don't
know.
torture
Whoa.
Kirara because of my comment.
Well, then maybe Kirara should torture you instead.
She does
Yeah.
every night.
She just arched her back and is hissing now.
Oh no. I love these narrations of Kirara.
Yeah.
I'll leave her alone. I'll leave her alone. You know, I mean, one thing I will say about Nod Cry that hasn't been fun is that I heard through the grapevine when Nod Cry was first starting to come out that we were going to get a second story quest for Farina, and I was so happy. And then we're almost done with Nod Cry, and there is no second Farina story quest. She hasn't shown up in like a year. She hasn't shown up on any of the banners. She hasn't shown up on like any story events or anything like that. It's like, what happened to my homegirl Farina? Is she safe? Is she all right?
Listen, Farina is learning how to cook. She's playing tabletop, making mac and cheese. Like, she's just trying to like take a step back from the limelight and enjoy life.
I guess, and good for her. I'm happy for her. I just want to know that she's okay, but maybe that's a bit parasocial of me to say. So maybe I'll back off on that.
Don't you feel like whenever we do get to meet up with her in the game again, she's gonna she will have been up to something the whole time that we haven't seen her. Like she'll be like, I'm opening my new theater.
And I'm like, where? With what money? Like, doesn't Nouvellette pay for your rent? Like,
What after the one play and her story quest was so successful, she's probably in demand and she's probably like in a touring company or something.
I mean, probably she's probably making that bank, and you know, good for her. And I will say one amendment that I will make real quick about the Farina episode last time I was on is that I made a comment saying that I don't think that any of the ships at the time worked for Farina. The two main ones being Arlecchino and Nouvellette. And I still stand by that. I don't think either of those work for her. But a new character has come out since then that I do ship with Farina, and that would be Escoffier.
Oh, okay.
oh, okay.
She's not a name that comes up often.
Simply for the fact that Escoffier likes to make the chocolate cake. I'm forgetting the name of the specialty, but she likes to make it for Farina. And Farina highly recommends her. And, you know, that's more normal than whatever she's got going on with Arlecchino and Nouvellette. So, you know what? I ship it. Why not?
A love
Yeah,
language that is
I
gift
like it.
giving.
Of course.
Yeah, Farina does strike me as someone that like needs to be spoiled.
Oh, yeah.
And I could see Escoffier being like, I made this for you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, her
Yes.
idol, she's sitting there spinning around some treats. She's definitely, she likes her sweets. That's one way to her heart. Do you do that, Melty? Do you bring her sweets?
Well, I mean, if I could find her, like I said,
Well, I want to just backtrack. Farina aside, either Melty or Rand introduced me to Capri Sun, and it is great, and we'll talk about that later. But today we are here to talk about Moeka. Sorry, Farina.
yes. Oh.
A different Archon, a different nation, a different element, a different life. But both of them kind of got fucked over for 500 years as a human,
True.
Mhm.
which seems to be a trend. We're having Melty on for humans that have been fucked over by the Archons for 500.
I mean, I wasn't going to say anything, but
When we have the next one, no, we'll have Melty on before that. I hope there's not another Archon that has this curse. But before we jump too far into Moeka, there's two important Natlan concepts I think would be really great just to review quickly, as we haven't been to Natlan on this podcast in quite some time. The first thing to remember is that all Pyro Archons are humans.
Mm-hmm.
So there have been many Pyro Archons where there's only been one Animo Archon, one Geo Archon, technically 1.5 Electro Archons. If Arena, maybe there were 3 over there. I don't really know how to do some of the math, but here there's a lot. And some of the ones we know for a fact are Jivalanke, Nenge, Jumiko, Kochanina, Gloari, Shulvitsi, Ishaha, the Scarlet-Eyed Hero, and many more. And apologies if any of them were pronounced wrong. You all know I'm trying my best. So all Pyro Archons start out as humans, and they actually go through like this training process where they're like, I'm going to become the next Pyro Archon.
That sounds like something that Alice would have been running along with her like next top model singing
Tibet
contest.
Idol.
Yeah, her
Sounds like
Tibet Idol.
Natlan's Got Talent.
Yeah.
basically.
She's got to be involved here somewhere.
This is like her American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah. It's her ESPN version of the ABC specials.
Yeah. So every Pyro Archon has to go through this, like these trials, and I believe it's like a tournament of some sort, kind of similar to the pilgrimage. And once you succeed and you've been decided that you're going to be the new Pyro Archon, you ascend to a divine throne. Sounds familiar, Vanessa. And the new Pyro Archon's inner flame is awakened. And then they gain institutional knowledge, basically, about Natlan upon ascending to this throne. And so they have all this knowledge about the land and the history and the feelings that the land holds and that the ley lines hold. And they become connected specifically to the ley lines. Moika actually says in a voice line that unleashing the power of the divine throne bound my soul to the ley lines. And that as she rose up into the air, she could feel the passion of our warriors, the determination of our people, and the pain of our fallen. So it's pretty rough. It's like you gain the memories probably of all the Archons before you, and you just want like have to cry in a corner for like an hour or two.
Yeah. Sounds like a bad trip.
Yeah, like we just did acid, right? Like, no. And just a pointer for you guys, if any of your friends are having a bad acid trip, do not put them in the shower. That's my word to the wise to everybody.
All right.
Wait, why?
So imagine for a second that you're on a hallucinogenic, everybody.
I mean, that's like every episode.
True, but like, you ate a mushroom Tainari told you not to eat.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And you're freaking out. And now your friend takes you and throws you in the shower. You could all of a sudden think that the shower head is a dragon spitting like acid on you.
It's a really weird analogy.
I actually took a class all about drug use and abuse. And this was one of the examples my instructor gave me many moons ago. He knew from real world experience, apparently.
I was going to go with like, you might think you're drowning, but no, I like the dragon spitting acid on you.
Yeah, it's like Jivalanke. Not Jivalanke, who? Ochcon or someone.
Ochcon.
Yeah, like. So, like, you're supposed to just shut down their senses, basically. Dark, quiet corner. Like, don't make them wet.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That would only be if you take ecstasy instead.
It takes the word ascending to a whole new level.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
I'm really good at not making people wet. I feel like I found my calling.
Yeah.
Now, when you decide to become the Pyro Archon, there is a lot that goes into that. All Pyro Archons end up having the same ancient name, which is Kiongozi, which I probably pronounced wrong. It is a Swahili word meaning leader or guide, which makes sense because they're leading and guiding the nation. We don't really know a lot about like how they decide to bring a new Archon in. Do they know they're going to die? Do they only get 50 years? I don't know.
Yeah, what defines an era? They become the Pyro Archon of their era by proving themselves as the mightiest warrior of the era during like the pilgrimage and or the Night Warden Wars, I guess. But like, who decides what the era is?
Alice. I have no idea. I'm just...
It all comes back to Alice. Alice, the true Pyro Archon.
Just know that anytime I mention Alice, I'm talking on my ass.
I feel like Alice is like top of my head ever since I had to play the Little Hexen Circle games. And I'm just like, oh, the babies that Alice tricked into being friends. Yes.
Yeah.
Klee's gonna head over to Natlan and just challenge Mawika to the right to be the Pyro Archon when she gets older.
I made bombs.
Alice did say that she's hoping Klee will be a stronger mage than her one day, so that's only terrifying by a little bit.
She's gonna ignite the volcano.
Well, we know that they all carry the same ancient name.
Yep.
Like you said, the Kiangozi. But she also has, like our other archons, the divine name of Habarium,
Yes, the Ars Goetia name, the demon name.
which is also AIM. And it's the demon of fire. So does that go with every archon? Like, is every archon Habarium and Kiangozi?
Well, I want to say no because aren't Makoto and A different ones? One is Beelzebub. I don't.
Yeah, but they were alive at the same time.
So you'd have to be dead, would be the assumption then.
And we don't know. That's another thing we don't know. Do we only get a new Pyro Archon when somebody dies? Is there a time when we're Pyro Archon less?
Or is it like, this guy's gonna die in the next week, or we'll make sure he's dead. So we need a new Archon in 7 days.
This just got very Hunger Games.
So it's like a last minute, like, hey, you want to be the next Pyro Archon?
Yeah.
Well, you're in luck.
Or do you think it's just that like they kind of have like a lineup of like, okay, like Moeka passed all these trials. As of right now, she is next in line to become the Archon. And if it's her time, it's her time. If she's aged out, she's aged out, like whatever it might be.
I do think that Haberim, or however you say her divine name, it would make sense if it changes with everyone who becomes an Archon, because in the voice lines about her, when the Archon is talking about them, it actually says like about Haberim or whatever.
Oh, true. They do call each other by the divine names.
Yeah. Like it's not like about Moeka, it's like about the H name.
And Nahida and Rukkhadevata, while they didn't live at the same time, they also had different names, right?
Who?
Nahida and Rukkhadevata.
Who's that second one?
Oh, sorry. I forgot that you're from Tavat.
What?
I can't tell you, Melty.
Okay.
Forbidden knowledge.
Forbidden knowledge.
God. God. Anyways,
we don't want to poison you.
You know how I think they actually choose the next Pyro Archon? I think they gather the candidates of like the top 10, and then they put the names on like a dartboard, and then they throw a dart while not looking.
Oh my god.
And I think Mavuika just happened to be chosen.
I don't know why I imagined that as a bunch of like flying wayobs.
That's amazing.
My brain is a very interesting place.
No, it was perfect.
Flying wayobs? Is that what you said?
Uh-huh.
Like I'm just picturing flying squirrels.
That's what I would expect Tiff to say.
Flying squirrels of the underworld.
Now, one other thing to know about the Pyro Archons is that their main job is to end this war with the Abyss. So Moeka is currently feeling a little lost as a Pyro Archon because her main goal is gone. Now, outside of how the Pyro Archons work in this area, it's also important to have an overall high-level view of how Natlin works as a whole. So, a quick recap, the first Pyro Archon, Xbalanque, made a deal with Renova, the Shade of Death, and basically tethered the Archon to the ley lines in order to try to keep shit together. And that is where the Sacred Flame comes from. And the Sacred Flame burns and has to maintain a certain level of power. So every year, sometimes sooner, depending on the need, they run a pilgrimage where all the greatest warriors compete, and the energy of their competition powers the Sacred Flame. And the people who win the most get to go fight in the Night Warden Wars, if I'm remembering correctly.
Mm-hmm.
They go and they fight, and if they die, as long as one person lives, they can be brought back by the Ode of Resurrection that the Archon will put upon them when at least one of them returns. And that is how they are fending off the Abyss. Because since their ley lines are all messed up, the Abyss is constantly attacking them. Their ley lines have been messed up since prior to the Cataclysm, since Xbalanque, the first Archon, was the one who made this deal, and they are much more susceptible to attacks from the Abyss. They were hit the hardest during the Cataclysm because of that, and those are the two, in my opinion, main things you need to know about how Natlin is working before we talk about Moeka's life. So, Moeka, She was not born recently, as you might think. Moeka was actually born quite a few years before the Cataclysm. Do you think she was like 20 during the Cataclysm?
20s or 30s, yeah.
She seemed pretty young.
So Moeka was born into what she considered to be a pretty normal, plain family with parents that constantly butted heads. And she actually grew up in the Signs of the Canopy, which is where Kaniche is from now. Her father was like a knowledgeable person, but she would always like ask him questions and try to get answers, and then she would get answers and have more questions. Where her mom was like a very like passionate person who had no cares for her own safety when adventuring. She was a little reckless, something she didn't really acknowledge about herself until she had Moeka and she was similar to her. She had a little sister, Hine. So Hine, she goes on as an adult, years after the Cataclysm to become an architect. And as an architect, she actually helps to make a ton of designs to help rebuild the Signs of the Canopy after the attacks of the Cataclysm. Unfortunately, none of her designs have made it to modern Teyvat because there's so many attacks from the Abyss that things just don't last that long.
Or she just wasn't good at it, and they just didn't know how to tell us.
Wow.
That's dark.
I mean, Kave's shit is still there.
Kave's only been alive for like 20-something years.
Yeah, but
Kave's modern. What are you talking about?
yeah, still.
That lighthouse is probably only 5 years old. The twink tank will destroy it before anything else, but it's only been around for like 5 to 6 years, probably.
Well, who do you guys think constructed the first ever design for a lighthouse?
Me?
No, it was Hine.
I mean, that would be good, but there's no water by them.
You don't need water necessarily to make a lighthouse.
There's water by the people of the springs.
Yeah, but not in the Signs of the Canopy that she rebuilt.
Well, no, the lighthouse could be used to like warn people in the distance, like if the abyss is attacking, like turn on the lights.
So are you saying that she
Oh, they did
created
that.
the hot air balloons that I hated?
I mean, I guess it's up to interpretation.
Is she the Paul Revere of Natlin? The Sybil Luddington, if you may?
The abyss coats are coming.
Oh God. Oh God. What does that make Moeka then?
George Washington?
No, because Xbalanque would be George Washington.
She's Hamilton? Oh God, she can't be Hamilton.
Oh my
I just
God.
saw off his scandals.
Moeka the musical.
Oh my God, stop. That'd be so
Moeka
good.
Hamilton. Moeka Hamilton. I've been dead for over 500 years. Just you wait.
Step aside, Lin-Manuel.
Yeah, in comes
got-
Moeka.
I was gonna say in comes Melty.
Melty!
Ooh, yes.
Starring on Broadway.
When she gets thrown into the sacred flame, wait for it.
Wait,
Yeah.
shut up. Oh my God.
Oh, that's so good.
So there needs to be an off-Broadway play about this.
Yes.
It can go with Titanic before it went on Broadway.
Yeah.
So, one thing to know about Hine, of course, is, she finds out that her sister's going to be sacrificing herself and needing herself 500 years in the future, which we'll talk more about in a minute. But Hine, for a young child, is very, understanding of this. And maybe that's just what happens when you grow up in Natlin and you're seeing these archons die and people around you die because of the abyss.
I love it that you're just like, I mean, that must be what it's like when you just live in a shitty place and you get used to really bad shit. Like, oh, my sister's gonna be basically disappear from the world of the living for 500 years. I guess that's just the way things go here in Natland.
She's going to live in a magical bonfire? Okay.
Guess I'll bring my marshmallows.
Just another Tuesday.
Just another Tuesday with my s'mores. Yeah.
No, but Hine understands because she hears that and she's like, oh, I understand. It's who lives, who dies, who tells your story.
Oh. I need someone to animate Moeka's head on Hamilton. Where's the Disney Plus movie that I need? We're going to get the Moeka Hamilton remake before we get the anime at this rate, guys.
Someone
Yeah.
call Xavier.
Yeah.
Stop. They mentioned Xavier very briefly in the Hexen Witches, the Little Witches Hexen Circle event. And I was like, Xavier!
Guys, I got it. Fontaine and Natland crossover summer event. Farina is going to do a Alexander Hamilton style musical featuring Mavuika and her life.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Where she marries Capitano, and
Oh.
the other two sisters are two other people from the Harbingers.
It's gonna get to the point at like the end of the Archon quest where Mavuika's standing there in Ochkanatlan. She's gonna turn around and she's gonna be like, Sitlali, Traveler, Capitano, what is this?
I need to see Farina riding on the back of Moika's Flame Strider, but like in a slutty outfit, looking like a video hoe.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
like just clutching on to Moika's waist. Like, oh,
I believe there's a version of that in Zenless.
is there?
There's a whole like motorcycle desert like trailer.
Scafier is gonna be standing off to the side, just like with binoculars in the distance, like side-eyeing Mavuika while that happens.
It's like, are we really doing this? But anyway, so Hine tells her sister that they will somehow meet again. And she does. She makes like a little origami frog and she puts it in one of her books. And people actually listen to her and they pass this book down from generation to generation for over 500 years. And eventually Moika gets the book and sees this frog made by her sister.
Yeah, it's adorable because like the little girl that brings the book to Moika is like, someone helped my family. And because of that, like we said we would bring this to you eventually. And we knew that you would want it type of thing. And it's so cute because she kind of sees the little girl as Hine too. They're obviously similar. They're around the same age and stuff too. And it's just very heartwarming.
Yeah.
And you can see all of that in her character teaser. It's actually all animated out in there. It's really cute.
I am confused as to how the paper frog survived 500 years without eroding away.
But not her architecture.
Yeah, did they just keep it sealed in the book the whole time? Like, it's a nice sentiment, but it's kind of like,
Yeah.
how did it not like wither away at Mavuika like touching it or
Yeah.
whatever?
Well, like it's like a pressed thing. Like, you know, when a piece of paper like that, I mean, books survive hundreds of years. This was like
I mean-
preserved in a book and no one even saw it. Like it
Yeah, like
probably
nobody,
had
nobody opened the book.
yeah, there was probably no moisture or anything that hit it. Like it was just vibing.
I mean, I guess.
It's all her drawings and stuff of her architecture. So like people probably looked at it and were just like, all right.
Boring.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
This is-
Mavuika
Only Kave is interested.
only comment. Yeah. I mean, I guess Mavuika opened it and looked at it, and she saw the paper frog, and she was like, "Legacy. What is a legacy?
Oh,
It's planting seeds in a garden that you'll never get to see."
my God. Oh, why does it work so well? Why? Like,
It really does.
but then just a little more to know about Hine. She was like a kind of a naughty kid. Like they literally used the word naughty. Like she didn't follow the rules. It was really hard to tame her.
Yes, it said Hine was naughty at times, quiet at others, and rarely obedient. And I was like, same girl. I really feel connected with Hine.
She's your ancient name.
She is. Like, I hope to one day also not have a legacy other than a paper frog.
Okay, anyway, Brandon, who has a podcast with no legacy. But Moika does say that, like, when Hine was born, it was like an angel was born, despite all that. And Moika's parents actually fought a lot and had a hard time getting along until Moika was born, even. So, like, this family was very loving of one another, and they had one more companion. Because Moika had a Saurian companion, a Yumkasaur named Hitata, who adored Moika and would like charge at her and jump into her arms. But of course, Hine also wanted to do that. So she would just be holding a baby Saurian and a baby sister at the same time.
Talk about pick me energy.
Honestly, from both the Saurian and the baby.
And their family had two Yumkasaurs, right?
I'm not sure. I just know that she had like her own companion that was one of them. So I'm not 100% sure on that.
It's like one per person, not one per family.
And then they would have 4.
I meant kid, sorry.
Each kid gets a cat.
And was the other one named Free Tata?
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Sounds pretty Yumkasaur to me.
So anyway, so Moika, you know, prior to the cataclysm, she was living with her family. She was training, hoping to become an Archon. There's a voice line where she's talking about her dad that it basically seemed like he knew that she was going to try to be the Archon. Like, that was something she had thought about, and he could just tell that she had her mind set to that. And Moeka was definitely a family person. To this day, she still talks about like how she can go out to restaurants and like have food, but she'd really rather stick to the family recipes and go home and cook them instead. And it was really hard for her when they made the realization that she was probably going to have to yeet herself into the future. So Moeka becomes the Archon, and as the Abyss continues to creep in more and more, and the Abyss is clearly getting stronger, Moeka thinks they have to make a game plan. And she's trying to plan ahead and get ready for the future and her legacy and all that jazz. So she approaches the tribes and she suggests that she possibly sacrifice herself into the sacred flame where she will live until she is needed in the future.
Isn't this like right after they barely survived the cataclysm?
This was before the cataclysm, I believe.
So she wasn't there during the cataclysm?
Yes, she was there during the cataclysm. Yeah. So they come up with this plan prior to the cataclysm happening. They don't know when they're going to do it. Unless the cataclysm was near, maybe it was the start of the cataclysm, but it couldn't have been the start of the cataclysm because Moeka was called to Conria by Celestia, and she did go with the other Archons to Conria to fight. She then came back, and that is when she met up with 3 of the 6 heroes, Sunjata, Tupac, 4, Wanjiro, and Menelik, and those 4 helped bring her to the Sacred Flame, with only Tupac surviving to see her go into the Sacred Flame.
Yeah, and you can see that all in the animated short as well, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, so this plan definitely was made before the cataclysm. It seemed like they knew that they might not survive the next Abyss attack, whatever it might be, and then they just got totally fucked because it was the cataclysm.
Well, one point to mention, though, is that when Moeka is talking to Capitano in the Archon quest, she does mention when he's talking about the fact that, you know, he took his men into Natlan, like after getting out of Conria, only to find the Abyss attacking Natlan, and then him and his men were fighting the Abyss and his whole storyline. She did mention that like she hadn't met him before, but they were both alive during that time. Their paths had just never crossed.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point.
She was definitely still around during that time. It's just a matter of, was she thrown into the Sacred Flame before or after Capitano came into Natlan?
Right, and we don't know when they came in. We do know that the Abyss attacked Natlan much harder than it attacked the other nations during the Cataclysm because of their issues with the ley lines that were already existing. So we do know that the war was heavier there. And I mean, it makes sense if Moeka went and met the other Archons at Conria and then came back. We don't know how long she was there and if they settled things in Conria before she came back.
Yeah, we don't actually know how long the cataclysm went on, too. It's one of those things like, it wasn't just like a day.
I mean, it seems like the only thing that we do know that happened in Conria is that, I don't know, Makoto died.
Yeah.
Do we know? No. Like, do we? What conspiracies can we make?
No, we're not starting the theory that Makoto is still alive, you guys.
She's just a sandal yokai.
God, the last thing we need is another Raiden Shogun.
That's everything we need, Melty.
No, she sucks.
I agree with Melty on this one.
That we know that there was a puddle.
Yes, the Amaretta pool.
Yeah, Farina's predecessor turned into a puddle.
While Moeka was down at the Cataclysm, we also have this assumption of a character named Tanakh, who was an exiled Maratan. Maratans, remember, are Vanessa's heritage and lineage. Vanessa, who ascended to Celestia during the Genshin Impact manga, and who was good friends with Venti. It is assumed that during the Cataclysm, he went around and made a team of 6 heroes, and he basically took one from every tribe, and they went around trying to defend the nation during the Cataclysm. And these are the 6 heroes that now correlate with our modern day heroes. So our modern day heroes being Xilonen, Auroran, Kanich, Mualani, Iansan, and Chaska. They each have an ancient name that they are actually the third person to wield. So there's an original person who wielded it back in the days of Xbalanque, the first Pyro Archon, someone who had the ancient name during the Cataclysm, and then our current people. And it's kind of suggested that they're almost like the reborn heroes that came back with Moeka. And during the Archon quest, we see some pretty cool things with them meeting their past selves, basically. But out of those 6 heroes, a few of them were already friends with Moeka, and they fought alongside Tanakh, but also helped bring Moeka to the Sacred Flame in the end. And they all died. That's it.
They're like, we must help
The
her
end.
yeet. We must help her yeet.
We must help her yeet. Yes, yes.
Yeet.
Yeet.
Yeet her into the
yeet,
flame.
I mean, literally, that's what I can you imagine, like, you had been like some random person who didn't know this plan and you just watched these people like chuck the Archon into like this fire?
Oh my god, what the hell are you doing? No.
I'm like, is Tupac, is he possessed by the abyss?
Well, in the animated, the animated short that I mentioned, they just put her on the throne. They don't actually chuck her body into the flame. The flames
She just
come
like
through the throne.
disappears. Tupac
maybe they
slowly
burned her
turns
alive.
around and is like, Tupac turns around and he's like, they've done it. Or we've done it. Like we have seen our quest through to the end. She has yeeted.
She has yeeted.
Gosh, it does bring up the big question though. That is, I don't believe we have a full answer on though. Is how exactly did Mavuika know that throwing herself into the sacred flame would take her to the future, and how would the sacred flame know when exactly she's needed and would spit her back out? And how exactly would it know? And like, was there already a current Pyro Archon when she got spat back out? And did that Pyro Archon like step down because they knew that Mavuika was more important than them or whatever? It's a lot of questions that we don't have a lot of answers to. And I feel like this is like the most mysterious part of her backstory. It's like we don't have a lot of context or like conclusions to come to that are easy about it. So it's fun to just think about like how exactly did she come to see all of this?
Yeah, and the only hint we have to who was possibly the Pyro Archon before Moeka is a voice line from Venti, which, like, I love Venti. I think he's more reliable than Zhongli, but how reliable still is that? And he calls her, like, a war-mongering, like, tyrant. He's not a fan of her.
No, not at all. He's also drunk.
Okay, that has nothing to do with his opinions on the Pyro Archon.
So, that could be interesting though. Does this like old Pyro Archon have a name? Does Venti name her, or is it just like okay? So then maybe the Sacred Flame is like sentient to it. It has to be sentient to like a certain degree because it would know when to spit her out. Maybe it spits her out exactly when this tyrant is like about to take Natlan down a dark course, and then Mavuika, I don't know, like off the record kills that one, and that's why we don't have an old Pyro Archon walking around being like, I was the Pyro Archon before Mavuika.
Yeah.
So Venti's exact voice line is more about Venti 3. He says the Pyro Archon is a wayward, warmongering wretch, and the Geo Archon is a brutish, blundering buffoon. How do I know? Because this is written in the epic poems of Days Gone By. So we're not sure if this is supposed to be about like the Archon before Moeka, or if this is possibly the Archon in charge during the times of Vanessa.
Or is he just like a wink wink nudge nudge? Like this is like tee hee hee. Like I know the opposite is actually true about these people, but I'm gonna sort of spread this rumor for fun.
I think he thinks that Zhongli is a brutish, blundering buffoon.
Well, then why would the Pyro Archon catch a stray as well?
I don't know. All I'm going to say about Zhongli is that he didn't make himself any Mora before not becoming an Archon anymore.
I mean, technically, he still can whenever he wants. He's just like, no, I'm too good for that.
Yeah, I mean, he should have made himself money. Because now he won't. Because he's like, well, I'm not an Archon. I can't cheat. But then he needs all of Child's and Hu Tao's money. Anyway, this is not a Zhongli broke
Yeah.
discussion.
It's giving loser.
Ooh.
So Moika sits on her throne and the throne eats her into the flame. And she all of a sudden appears 500 years in the future to continue with her plan. And now everything you guys just said is right. It's like, why do all these people all of a sudden have so much respect for Moika as well? Did she come back as a child? Did she come back as a full-fledged adult?
She came back as a full-fledged adult, I believe.
She had to go through the pilgrimage again and
To
like
prove
when-
herself?
Yeah, she had to prove herself again.
But like, how long ago was it? Like,
It wasn't like 2 days ago. I think there's a, I mean, there is a, I think in England it was definitely before Traveler made it to Tevat. Like
okay.
it was not so recent, but not so long ago. I think like even again, I keep talking about this animated short. It really is really good. That you just see her like she's almost forgetting why she's stuck. She's riding her motorcycle on an endless road, and then she just keeps going past like a bus station, and like Hine is there. It's very trippy. There's a lot of trippy shit about Moika, but it doesn't really go into like the like she shows up like. It's not like she didn't like, roll back the rock and just be like, "Hey, I'm back."
But then she is back. And everyone has a lot of respect for her. She is very well loved. I don't know if that just came with like, the writings of past. Like there was a book that was like, "You will love Moika." It's like the opposite of the Burn book from Mean Girls. Like they just wrote all the lovely things you'll love about Moika when she's revived, and everyone just kind of always hoped it'd be their time.
I just thought it was like the same way that any Archon got put into that position. She earned it,
Mhm.
Venti didn't earn it. I love him, but he didn't earn an Archon spot. But do you mean
She
the
means
Pyro Archons?
Archon.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got a little like, I love Venti, but did he deserve it?
No, I meant all the previous humans that became Archons.
Mhm.
Which, total side note, well, I'm still, because I just mentioned Venti. Venti thinks that this whole system is really fucked.
I mean, it is.
He's like, they make humans do what now? Like,
They fly now?
he's like, they put humans through my trials and tribulations? What?
maybe his voice line is about Shivalake.
Yeah.
Like this bitch.
He's like, you could have made a deal with Maho Istaroth,
Yeah.
and you chose Renova?
Yeah, you chose Renova. What are you doing?
I mean, the other two options weren't much better. I mean, you have like Asmodee, who I guess like we don't even know what her deal is. I guess she's Paimon or something.
She's
I don't
just being
know.
a bitch somewhere.
Yeah, probably. And then you got like, no, Ryan Daughter didn't consume the Shade of Life yet at that point, right?
No, we assume that the Shade of Life was what is there? Naber? What? Oh my god.
Liberia.
Naberius. Thank you. I was like, the heart of Naberius was eaten briefly before Albedo came to Mondstadt. So it's
Yeah.
probably in like the last 10 to 15 years, I would think.
Yeah, because they found it on Dragonspine, right?
Well, they found it somewhere.
That would be a fun, like, what if Xbalanque called out to one of the shades, and instead of Renova answering, it was Naberius, and he made a deal with the Shade of Life. Like, what would happen there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they'd all just get yeeted into the sacred flame.
Oh, God.
Somebody's getting yeeted, basically. No matter which way. It's kind of like the butterfly effect. No matter what, it's still going to end somewhere, but just going to cause chaos along
It's
the
going
way.
to end in the flame.
That kind of sounds a little similar to the Natland World Quest with our Saurian companion and what happens at the end of that.
Yeah.
All right, let's not get that dark, guys.
Phlogiston for everyone.
Mhm.
No.
You get phlogiston and you get phlogiston.
So, in modern day Tevat, we'll briefly cover what happens during the Archon quest. We're not going to go into too much detail on it just because we did a few episodes about the Natlan Archon quest back in season 5, 5.
You sure there?
Don't sound very confident.
I had to, no, I'm very confident now. So we have 2 episodes on the Natlan Archon quest. Episode 83, Natlan So Far, and episode 87, Natlan's War with the Abyss. So if you're interested in learning more about Moeka and what she does during the Archon quest, you can go listen to those episodes. But the gist of it is that Moeka is looking for her 6 heroes of modern day. She knows a few of them already. I believe at this point she knows Ian-san and Kanich.
I honestly thought she knew them all. She was waiting for them to know.
Well, that's possible, but we know for a fact that Auroran and I think Chaska hadn't realized they were heroes yet. So I guess Gilonin knew too. Minimally, they were waiting on Auroran to figure out his emo bullshit and realize that he had the power of Biddy inside of him.
There is one thing that I want to bring up though about Chaska in specifics and her ancient name and how she gets it. And I brought it up when we on the Resonance were talking about Natlan, oh god, it was over a year ago at this point. God, I'm getting old.
Oh my
I
god.
don't want to hear it, Melty.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, we were talking about it again to just go over briefly. In 5.1, when the Abyss is invading, we have the whole segment of the Archon quest where we're traveling through the map and we choose who to help and who not to, and we see the consequences of our actions. We see the death toll number spike up and stuff. And by the end of it, we see that Chaska is with her sister Koichi, and Koichi unfortunately ends up falling to the Abyss and she ends up dying in Chaska's arms, and then Chaska rages, and it's because of that her ancient name awakens within her, and she's the last one that they need to unlock the true power. And she brings Koichi's body into the Stadium of the Sacred Flame and lies it down, and Maweka's just standing there watching her, placing her down, and all Maweka says to Chaska is I'm so sorry, but we got to go do this thing now together. We got to do the power of friendship blast into the sky. And I mentioned this to Rand and Emerald, and I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Do we think that Maweka knew how Chaska was supposed to unlock her ancient name? Do we think that she knew in some way that Koichi was going to have to die?
Possibly, because I think there's one part of the quest where she kind of admits that she knows who was supposed to get the ancient names, but I would have to go back and look at I'm a little foggy on how much of the future or how much about the future she actually knew. But it would be kind of fucked up if she was oh, thank God your sister finally died, and you activated your ancient name, because I've been waiting 500 years for this shit.
She was if she was going to kick the bucket soon, I would have done it for you.
Yeah.
I feel like she didn't necessarily know, she didn't know exactly how it was going to happen, or else she could have kind of spun it along a little bit too. It had to be awfully personal for them, and I don't think she knew the details of it. I feel like she was just waiting for them to come upon it themselves. And unfortunately, in her case, it ended up because of a death. But I think there could have been something else that would have triggered it too.
Well, and she says that when she wakes up after the yeet, she finds out, I believe, that the tribes were supposed to, because part of the reason that she does it, I think, is because she needs the tribes to be rebuilt after the state they were in when she left. And part of the deal was that the tribes were supposed to pass down the information that once she comes back, y'all need to have, your slayers called and activated and ready to go. But when she wakes up 500 years in the future, she finds out that didn't happen, that something had cut off a lot of the Wyob communication. And so some of the tribes didn't know, and that information wasn't passed down among the tribe members.
I'd like to say that Moeka didn't know, but I also think she might have had an inkling, because the original owner of her ancient name, Vuka, she was a twin. Her name was Lianka, and her twin was Ixque, I believe. And Ixque, both of them fought alongside Jimhalanke to overthrow Jicotl, and they both went on to be chiefs of their own separate tribes. Now, Lianka, who has the same ancient name as Chaska, she ends up dying in a battle against Ochkon. And I believe like something happened with like her son that led to her death. And I wonder if like Moika was like thinking back on the past, possibly. But also Chaska had an animo vision with no dead friend. Oh, I guess she had dead parents,
Yeah.
but like she didn't really have like a person she was close with that was dead, you know, like she was kind of orphaned at a young age. She wasn't necessarily close with her parents. So if Moika minimally knew that it was Chaska, she might have been like, oh, you got that Dead Friends Club emblem and no dead friend.
Of course. The Animo's monkey's paw curls its finger yet again.
Yes, it's just like phasmophobia. So I don't know. I would hope she didn't know. She could have at least warned Chaska. Like what is that? One of you will betray me. Like what?
Well, she couldn't because she would have needed her to have that reaction. You know, she would have needed the devastation of it. If Chaska was able to prepare for the loss, one, she probably would have done something to stop it from happening. Again, the butterfly effect. But also, she wouldn't have had such rage.
Rage that was so dangerous because of her abyssal corruption.
Yeah.
Anyway, great question though. So yeah, Moika in the Archon quest, like we meet her, she's super cool. Capitano comes to try to take her Gnosis and she steals Kanisha's weapon and is like, not today, bitch. She fights Capitano. She ends up finding or helping her 6 heroes unleash their inner powers. And we fight the Abyss 2 or 3 times with her. It's a bloody mess. There's lots of death. There's stupid hot air balloons. Chaska's sister dies. R.I.P.
A lot of Saurians die too. Let's not forget.
Yes, lots of Saurians die. R.I.P. to them. Auroran almost gives his soul away to Capitano, or his half soul away to Capitano. And it's very sad. But if there's one thing we know is that Moika's plan worked.
Mhm.
And we meet the ruler of the Night Kingdom, who tells us that she is an angel, like a fallen angel. And we learn of everything that Xbalanque did with Renova, and we fix it all. And the Traveler also gets an ancient name, which is fun.
There are a couple of other things that happen in the Archon quest that obviously I won't go over right now because I'll save them for later when we talk more about Mahuika, like in general, and like her relations with other people. I'm talking about like Capitano specifically, but those are things that I can save for later. But I just want to let y'all know there are a couple of other things that I will want to circle back around in a little bit.
Yeah, of course. That's just General's gist of the Archon because you get the same idea of Moika as a person from it. Strong, independent, but also willing to work as a team, a great leader, a great fighter. People generally look up to her. She's not unliked amongst the people. That's so important. I feel like her and Venti are the only ones like 100% truly loved by all their people, and I think that's very funny.
I would say the top 3 like most liked, and this is like my opinion, but I think the top 3 best Archons, like obviously my personal favorite character is Farina. That's never going to change, but she's technically not even an Archon anymore, so she doesn't count. My top 3, and this is in no like from least to best or anything, it would be Venti, Nahida, Mahuika. Nahida maybe not at the start, but I would say definitely by now. And especially with like the most recent Sumeru quest that's happened, I would say she's definitely up there in discussion for like top 3 of the Archons. And then the other 4, we know nothing about the Tsaritsa. Farina is Farina. Zhongli kind of faked his death to just LARP being a human. And then Raiden Shogun is an active detriment to her community. I'm surprised they haven't kicked her out yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say with Farina, I think that I don't think she was 100% liked by her people. I think she scared them a little bit.
Yeah, well, what matters is now they like her.
Yay. Anyway.
Technically, she was never actually the Archon. Focalors was just hiding in the closet.
Don't get me started on all that.
Month?
I know. Come out of the closet, Focalor.
That's what I'm saying. Farina and Scofier, guys, that's what I'm saying.
Anyway, so the next time we really see Moika after like all this abyssal drama is done is her story quest, which I think the story quest is very funny in my opinion.
It's a very interesting one.
I really liked it.
Yeah, me too.
I thought it was sweet.
So it's basically like Sitlali comes to us in a dream and is like, wake up, we need to talk to you, like come to the speaking chambers. And it's like, okay.
I wish Farina came to me in a dream, but like
Oh
I
my
said, she hasn't come to me at all in a year.
Oh my.
So we rush over, and Sitlali tells us that the Wayobs are feeling like Xbalanque is coming back, and he's the first Pyro Archon. And we're like, man, do you think like he's gonna seek us out? And Sitlali is like, oh my god, no, like I'm not prepared for that. No. And Moika's like, yeah, he'll probably look for me because I'm an Archon. And Moika's trying to figure out, like, why he's coming back. Is it because, like, we're no longer really doing the pilgrimage? Is it because this war with the Abyss is over? And this is when we find out that, like, they're actually changing the pilgrimage now that they don't necessarily have to do it. And they're keeping it more as, like, a sports tournament because the people are feeling truly lost without it.
Hasn't it been like one day?
Yeah.
And they're
basically.
lost.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're lost because everyone died.
Oh my god, I cackled at death.
Wow.
It really made me do.
I didn't know we had Renova on as another special guest. I would assume that it's probably been like, I don't know. Because, yeah, if you go straight from the Archon quest to the story quest, obviously it's going to feel like no time has passed. But, like, I guess, like, what's the term? Like, use your imagination.
Yeah.
A couple weeks have probably passed, or like a month or two.
And this is probably something too that people were preparing for a lot. Like they were spending a lot of time preparing to face off in the pilgrimage. Like it wasn't just like, oh, once a year it just showed up. It's kind of like the Olympians getting ready.
It's kind of like in the Hunger Games, like districts 1, 2, and 4 have like the careers who like spend their lives training for the Hunger Games. Like whereas like all the other districts want nothing to do with the Hunger Games. But like those districts are like, yeah, we want to win. So they see winning as like a great honor. But now like the Hunger Games are gone. They're like, what the hell, man?
We're not murdering and sacrificing children anymore? What do you mean?
I'm looking forward to that new Hunger Games movie in November. I loved reading the book. I can't wait for the movie to make me cry.
Oh no. I've been doing a lot of Hunger Games simulators where you put the Genshin characters into the Hunger Games and then see who survives. Anyway.
Wait, what?
It's never Koichi.
Oh.
Oh.
There is a simulator online that you can like open up, and it's a Hunger Games simulator, and you can put whoever you want in it.
How does it operate?
It's totally randomized. But my friends and I have been doing it with our Genshin original characters and then adding in a few playable characters. And there's just something really sad about like Diluc killing Kaya in that. So, you know, anyway.
Not to Tiff.
Yeah,
Not to Tiff. Tiff's like, everyone's dead.
Like I said, Renova.
Sounds entertaining. Let's have that happen.
When did you become a shade? When did you eat Renova's heart?
I mean, the Discord is called Shades of Tevat. So.
Oh my god. We might have to go. I don't know if I trust this.
It's okay. I know her weakness. Just eat popcorn really loud in front of her.
I got Chevrus on speed dial.
And I have Dahlia on speed dial.
Oh no.
So they've decided to do this new sports tournament version of the pilgrimage because everyone is lost and confused and they don't know what to do and they still need something to motivate them. So what else would motivate you but a fighting style tournament that makes you think of the Hunger Games? So we go on and we run into Kinich, Mualani, and Kachina and Ahau, and they all know that Xbalanque is coming back because they ran into Sitlali, and Ahau is basically like, ugh, I hate that guy. Ugh, how dare he come back? But everyone else is like a little worried, and they're kind of joking that like they're gonna fish the guy out of the water. Like they're gonna fish Xbalanque out of the water, and instead they end up saving like these drowning kids. We go on and we end up running into Sitlali again, and she tells us that she told her tribe's chief about Xbalanque too, and she sends us to Auroran. Auroran is with Kakuku, Aoife's Saurian friend, and this is the first time you really meet Kakuku because Auroran introduces him and is like, this is Aoife's. And he tells us about a time that like Kakuku and Ahau had like a really rough fight, and Ahau just started going no to everything Kakuku said.
Important information.
I mean, it was the best part. He was like, it was very entertaining. And I think Paimon was like, did you just watch them fight? He goes, I couldn't take my eyes away. Like, but anyway, so Auroran tells us that he's actually trying to catch/hunt Xbalanque, and that he's actually set up a trap. And we're like, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. So we leave, and as we're leaving, we run into Xilonen, who has been actively avoiding Moika because she knows Moika has work for her to do. And Xilonen learns from us at this moment about Xbalanque's possible return. And Xilonen seems very surprised that like the focus is still on the tournament when the first Pyro Archon might be coming back. And Moeka explains to her that the people are lost, Xilonen. They aren't seeing bloodshed and they need something to live. And Xilonen's like, yeah, you're right.
She's like, the people are bloodthirsty, Xilonen.
Don't you know? You've lived here. And then as we're walking away, Moeka's like, don't forget to go to my office and get the documents for those things you need to make. And Xilonen is sad.
What's going to happen in the office, I wonder?
Paperwork.
Mhm.
Paperwork.
Quote, unquote,
so quick
paperwork.
to assume there.
I am, because Moeka's with us the whole time, so...
I mean, the second, I would say the top two biggest ships, one of them is Capri Sun, but then the other one is Xilonen and Mabuika. So, like,
Mhm.
maybe there's something more there.
Maybe paperwork is their chess.
Is their chess? Oh, no.
Ooh.
Moeka's with us the
Checkmate.
whole time. So anyway, so we go on and we run into Chaska, and Chaska's like, my life has been so peaceful lately. I'm even a little bored. But then she's like, oh yeah, like I'll show you how like everything's going here in preparation for the tournament. And we find out that Ion-san is here with her tribe because her area hasn't been released yet. And they're helping the Flower Feather clan get ready for the trials and tribulations. And we actually get to go see some of the games and things. And this is when Ion-san and us have a chat where we all agree that Moeka just seems more relaxed, more chill, a little funnier ever since the war ended. And that's really nice to see her finally get to relax after 500 years of burning alive. And so Moeka then takes us to go get food and drinks in the Scions, where she tells us she expects Xbalanque to be at the tournament and it really should draw him in. And when she leaves, we actually overhear people talking about like Xbalanque and how he's coming back. And they're like, some of them are scared because like, what if he's just a big villain? Like, I've read a lot of light novels. And then some are like, but what if he's like here to help us? And they're like, but the war is over. Why would he be back now? Is the war not over? Ugh. There's a lot of gossip. Dahlia would be happy. So the next day, we end up entering the tournament with Moeka on her bike. And in that moment, Mualani, Kanich, and Kachina all win a bet with a How. And they're all like, pay up, bitch. And a How starts crying. So Moeka introduces the tournament and we get shit started. And I think it is important to note that while we are trying to talk to some of our friends to see if they have any information or rumors about like where Xbalanque is, Kanich does tell us that he had to lock a How up for the tournament and put him in a box.
Thank God. Thank God.
Love that we're controlling it like a dragon by putting him in a box. It really cracks me up.
And isn't he just a hologram anyway?
Okay, well,
So confusing.
I just had this thought. It would have been really funny if they went this way. I'm glad they didn't because I still like the way that they went with Xbalanque, but it would have been really funny if the one that Xbalanque ends up possessing was a How.
That would have
oh
been
my
funny.
god.
And then Mabuika has to end up fighting like this pixelized, like a How Xbalanque dragon. And like hearing this like normal voice come out of a How, that would have been really funny.
When a How like got back to his own body, he would really be like, I need to bathe in alcohol. Like he would be like so mad.
But then he would have been like, but wait, I'm just made out of light.
How dare you possess the almighty Kahula How?
So during the game, there's this one guy who's doing really good while fighting against Kanich. And everyone starts to make this big fuss because they're like, he's going head to head with Kanich and we've never heard of him. He must be Xbalanque. And the guy's like, I don't think I'm Xbalanque. Like, I think I'm just me. And Moeka's like, yeah, he doesn't have any, like, he's not him. I can tell by the energy. But this kid, and she points to this random motherfucker that no one has noticed until now, that's Xbalanque.
Someone's child just standing in the corner wearing like a hood. And
With, like, a lollipop.
it's like, Mabuika, are you about to beat up a child?
And then when they start to say that we think this is Xbalanque, a How somehow breaks out of his box and is like, bro, I can fuck this kid up. Yeah, I can take him. Hell yeah. And everyone's really unsure of how this kid could possibly be the great first Archon, the first son, as he was nicknamed, which the kid that Xbalanque took over is adorable. I adored the body model. Like, he's so cute. But also, how did he find a kid that looked just like Moeka to take over.
It's like gender swap child Mawika.
Like he has Moika's eyes. Like what are the odds?
Well, no, he didn't. I think when he took over the body, it changed the eyes.
Oh, okay.
Is it like whenever you ascend to Pyro Archon status, your eyes change into what they
Yeah.
look like on Mawika? Because that would make sense. Because then, like, that would make sense for like Xbalanque to have them, all the other Pyro Archons to
Yeah.
have them. So when Xbalanque comes back, you can tell he's possessing the kid because of the eye color.
Yeah, and she didn't
Mhm.
have that beforehand.
Oh, and like the animation, we don't see it like that.
No, I think she has regular ass eyes.
Interesting.
Regular in comparison to people who live in Tavat.
I mean, look at Farina's eyes. Look at like everyone else's eyes.
Please.
I don't understand how we need like an orthodontist type of character in this game who's just like specialty is just discerning eye colors and eye
Yeah.
types from each
Oh,
other.
like an optometrist?
Optometrist.
I
Yeah.
was like an
Yeah.
orthodontist. We getting them all braces.
Sorry, I knew it started with an O.
I was like, damn, like, what are you? I don't even see their teeth. What are you trying to say about their teeth? Fark is going to need one for when Lohan shoots one of his teeth out in the middle of the
Oh
night.
God! Don't get me started.
Oh, don't get me started. Anyway,
I did verify it though. Like while they're similar in color, they don't have the fun little arconness to them.
The,
Oh, in the
sun
teaser.
shape.
It's in her teaser.
okay. So Moika's like, you know what? Maybe we should move this party elsewhere and go chat.
When they're in the Temple of Souls, she's hanging out with full-grown yet dead Xbalanque.
But he's still possessing the body of a child, so I don't know how to feel about that one.
I mean, yeah, I'm saying like it'd be nice if they had a moment where he was like in his adult body.
I mean, there's a moment where because Xbalanque has like a more like I like to talk like this kind of voice, like more like it. I don't want to say it like this, but it's the only example I could think of, more like an Ito style like goofiness to his
Mm.
voice. But then there's like a moment where like for a line or two he talks more serious, and what I would assume is like his serious tone of voice, and it is like deeper and stuff. So there is like a moment there where like he lets like the facade show for a moment.
Mhm.
We've never actually seen Xbalanque, right?
don't-
Not in game
I
at
don't
least.
believe so.
How funny it would be if he looks like Mika.
Oh God!
Like Mika.
Out of all the characters,
I was going with a character with meekness, and I went with Mika.
you could have gone with Bennett.
Yeah.
It would be really funny if Bennett was the long lost like descendant of Xbalanque.
I could see it.
I mean, did the Archons have kids?
They're
Oh,
human.
I mean, we don't know whether or not Xbalanque ever like married.
What if that's how they pick the next Archon? Is it's actually in a bloodline? We just don't know.
I don't think so.
Anywho,
I did enjoy like their dialogue with each other, and they kind of have this like it's sort of like very proper in a way that it's sort of like formal here and there, but then also very like familiar. Like they're going through this formality, but they have like the shorthand because they are both archons.
mhm.
And I just think it's interesting that like the dynamic of like I'm an archon, I've sort of traveled through time in a way, and I am now also traveling back in time now to the very first Pyro Archon. So I just really liked watching them interact.
Yeah, and I think even like right away it's very funny because like Xbalanque says something and he's like, ha ha ha, right? I'm funny. And she's like, oh, like I didn't expect you to be funny. And he's like, what? But why wouldn't you think I'm funny? They didn't put that in the books. And, like, she was like, no.
They didn't talk of my humor?
Yeah, he was very offended. So that's when he explains that he's borrowing this kid's body and the kid is currently having a great dream. He's totally okay. But he's personally sad because he's in a kid's body, so he can't do all the stuff that he was capable of doing as an Archon.
Yeah, like he wanted to like join pilgrimage and like the tournament that they were doing. Like he was so excited about it, but then he realized, oh wait, I'm a kid, and he got like knocked out in like the first round of fighting. So that's why he was there at the tournament, just kind of off to the corner because he'd already lost in like the first round because he's just someone's kid.
He's just a boy.
Yeah, and I think the kid is like sickly too, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Is the kid also from the Scions of the Canopy? I think they say like somewhere in the quest like who the kid's like parents are from or something.
Oh, I'm not sure.
That's neither here nor there.
Or it'd be cute to know just because she is from the Scions. Like she'd be like you're like little me. Are you my sister's kid? Long lost great grandkid?
I mean, like we said, they look similar enough.
Yeah. According to Moso's parents, his health is not the best, which makes him unable to do most things that other people can. But where is he from?
He's from Natland.
Yeah, you know what? They don't actually.
Well, he's kind of dressed like the Scions of the Canopy tribe, right?
If you look at his little wiki page, it's like Musou possessed by Xbalanque, and he's like, "Hi." Yeah, he doesn't. His location is just listed as Natlan, at least on the wiki. So I don't think they say specifically.
Well, then I had canon that he's from Scions of the Canopy, because
Go
then
for
it would
it.
just be like a coming around full circle moment.
His outfit looks like it, kind of like similar to Kenichi's.
I was
right?
gonna say it's very Kenichi.
I wonder what tribe Diluc descends from.
I thought you were about to say what kind of tribe Kenichi is from, and I would have been like,
But so Xbalanque explains all this jazz to us about taking over a kid's body and how the kid's physical form isn't trained the way that he'd like it to be. Moika's like, okay, so you're possessing a kid, but like, why are you here? And how are you here? Because I don't understand how I lived in a flame for 500 years. So how did you get here after probably thousands of years? And he's like, oh, well, when I made my deal with Renova, I actually made a bet with her at the same time. And my bet was that if a future generation in Natlan win the war against the Abyss, I get to come back and see that new world. And you guys beat the Abyss. Really didn't expect to win my bet. So here I am. And I'm here to see what the world is like. And he asks Moika, like, how did you win the war? And she explains what they did during the Archon quest. And this is when, like, she's like, so, like, how did you find us at the tournament? And he's like, well, I was on my way to the tournament. And first, I got stuck in a fishing rod. So Mualani, Kanichin, and Kachina won. And then I fell into a trap. But the bottom was soft, so I took a nap. So he also fell for Auroran's trap. And then when I finally got out of the trap, I ran into a fitness person who told me I had to train. And they trained me before I could get to the tournament. So he ran into Yansan.
I love it that Yansan is like just trying so hard to sell gym membership.
Yeah.
So hard. Listen,
Yeah.
the girl's gotta make money.
Let me be your personal trainer.
Mhm.
And he's like, man, like life is hard in modern day Natlan. You're getting stuck on fishing rods. You're getting stuck in traps. They're making you train. This is terrible.
Can you imagine like the person who defeated the pyro dragon is like, man, y'all have it rough here.
Literally. He's like, I thought we'd be like eating cake right now.
Yeah.
Like, what's happening? But he says that he does have one wish before he has to return, and that his wish is that he wants to show Moika and the Traveler what he can actually do. And he explains that he wants to fight Moika, and that if they go to this other place, they will be able to keep this kid's body safe, and they'll actually be able to fight. So they go to the Temple of Souls and they go to fight, and it's a really cool cutscene, and Xbalanque loses, or
I think it's a draw.
yeah, he's like, you're very worthy of being the Archon and having the ancient name. I'm really glad that we have it. And they have like a little cute heart-to-heart moment, and then they go back to announce the winner of the pilgrimage, and the winner was Kanich, no surprise. And the kid wakes up and he kind of has explained what happened to him, and Moika tells like all the heroes the truth of like the Pyro Archon so that everyone is in the loop. And that's pretty much the end.
Yeah, and he also like offers her the power to bring back one of her family members temporarily.
Yeah.
And she's like, they would be too heartbreaking.
Yeah, she's like, no, I'd rather them just stay a memory, because if you bring them back temporarily, it's going to bring the longing for them to be here back.
See, I blocked that one out.
Yeah, that's a part of her character that I really appreciate, is that she does respect the past and understand the past. Like, for instance, this is one of the things I wanted to mention about the Archon quest. In 5.1, when we're trying to track down Ororon and Capitano, they go into like a cave and find like an old like ancient dragon device. And Capitano wants to use that, and I forget exactly how it will like defeat the abyss. But one of the things that it will do is it will like in a way like delete all of the past like memories of the people of Natlan from like the ley lines, and that way it will cleanse the ley lines of both that and the abyss all at once. And in that way, the abyss will die and Natlan will be saved. But Mavuika like staunchly refuses that outright, because she says that like the memories of Natlan make the people of Natlan. Like without those memories, who knows what like the future generations of Natlan might look like. She says they might not even like be looking like what people look like nowadays. And so like she understands that the past is important and it needs to be respected. But at the same time, she does not let the past define who she is as a character. And she doesn't let it like control her decision making or anything like that. She can have moments where she's sad about it and longing for it and thinking about it. But at the end of the day, she understands how important it is to respect the past, but also move forward into the future. And so that moment with Xbalanque, I feel like is in my opinion, my favorite part of the whole story quest, because it's just the epitome of Mavuika's character to a T. Like everything from that story quest and an Archon quest we've seen about her characters. Like she's a great character. She loves the people love her. She's a great strategizer. She's a great mediator. She's also just like a great fighter. And above all of that, she understands what the right thing is and how to do the right thing and all that. And so I feel like that moment with Xbalanque is just a great moment of like a character study for her. And it's also good because after that, she brings out the Flame Strider, her motorcycle, and is like, here, Xbalanque, I'll take you on a ride through Natlan using like I forget what the name of it is, like the phlogiston like waves or whatever. And she takes like us, the Traveler, and Paimon, and Xbalanque still possess the child's body, and they just ride throughout the lines like throughout all of Natlan, and like she shows him like Ochka Natlan, and he comments like how different it looks than how it looked back in the day. She shows him like the people of the Springs, the Science of the Canopy, the Collective of Plenty, the Children of the Echoes. She shows them like all around Natlan, and the reason why she's doing that is because Xbalanque only has this one day to come back, because after the end of this one day, he goes back into, I would assume, like the Night Kingdom or like the ley lines to rest then eternally. And so Mavuika, because Xbalanque said, I will offer up the rest of the time I have so that you can talk to someone of the past. But she says, no. How about instead, let's use that time to show you around all of Natlan like you wanted to see. And so I just feel like that's the story quest is just another great example of just how great her character is, both as an Archon and as a person.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that.
Don't you feel like she has like main character energy out of the Archons? Like she's like the one Archon that's an actual leader.
Yeah.
Yes, and gosh, one of the other things that I think is key like to her character is she is a sacrificer. She sacrifices so much, both in the past and in the present. Like there's one part of the Archon quest early on in 5.0 when we go into her office and we see that she has all this memorabilia from like over 500 years ago of like all of her friends and stuff before she threw herself into the flame, of like all this stuff from like the people of the Springs, Scions of the Canopy, Collective of Plenty, like all these like tribal memorabilia hanging around. And each one of them has like a story attached to it of like someone who used it, like a fishing rod or something, or like a rope or just random stuff like that. But she collects it all because it all holds like memories of the past. And it helps remind her of the past and keeps her connected to a past in a way. But later on in the quest, when us, the Traveler, and all, like, I believe it's Kenichi, Mulani, Eon-san, not Chaska, because she wasn't there, or maybe it was Chaska, I'm forgetting, but it's a whole group of us going to the Night Kingdom to try and save Kachina, because at that point, Kachina didn't come back from the Night Warden Wars. We go in to try and rescue her, but we don't make it out in time. Mavuika then punches a hole straight through the Night Kingdom and grabs us out. And we come back into her office, and when we look around, we see that all the memorabilia is gone. And we ask her what happened, and Mavuika says, oh, yes, well, the only way that I could bring you back from the Night Kingdom after it closed was I had to burn all of the memorabilia and throw it into the sacred flame, and that would burn away all like the memories inside of it, and that would give enough like fuel and energy for me to grab you out of the Night Kingdom.
She's like, I yeeted it.
Yeah, she yeeted it. Yeah. And of course, Eon-san hears that and she's like, oh no, Archon, but like all that stuff was important to you. Like all that stuff was like connecting you to the past. And she says, yeah, I understand. But at the same time, your guys' safety is the most important thing here. And I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I knew there was something I could do to help you and I didn't do it. Mm-hmm. So in that way, she's very like a self-sacrificial character, to the point where at the end of the Archon quest, after we've defeated the abyssal dragon or whatever, and we're all celebrating and stuff, Citlali comes up to us and tells us that she can't find Mahuika anywhere because, as we've been told in the Archon quest, using that ancient secret power of like combining the 6 heroes of Natlan together to like punch a hole through the sky, and we see like the moon in the background and all that stuff, using that power, like the power of death or whatever, a debt needs to be paid in order to do that. And the debt for that is a life for a life, essentially. And up to that point, Citlali was trying to make like a plan B because she didn't want Mahuika to be the one to have to do that. But now we can't find Mahuika anywhere. And so Citlali grabs us and goes to Ochka Natlan, where we see like Renova in the sky. We see like her big eye in the sky. And we see Mahuika like standing there. And we're trying to convince her, like, don't do it, don't do it. But Mahuika is like, nope, I already decided this from the start. I knew that when I'd have to use this power, this is what I would have to do. This is the sacrifice I have to make. I have to do it. I got to be the one to do it. And I love that in this moment, we can't convince her to get out of it, but it's Capitano who comes in and stops her. And part of it is because of Capitano's whole story arc with Renova and the souls inside his chest. But what it also is that Capitano is the one to remind her, like, hey, you just won this war with Natlan. Natlan is now entering this era of peace. Natlan and its people are in one of the most like vulnerable spots that it could be in. The people of Natlan need a leader. They need someone like you. You can't just go and abandon them like this, even if you think you're doing the right thing. Someone needs to be there for them. You need to be there for them. I'll be the one to do this. You go back and you lead the people the best you can do. Like, you're the best leader Natlan has ever had. And then Capitano goes and sits on the throne. So it even shows that even Mahuika, who, like you said, has main character energy out of all the Archons, even she can have her flaws at times where she can be so self-sacrificial to a point where it can be kind of detrimental, where she has to be kind of reeled back in a sense. And so I think that's a good part of her character as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, and her natural leadership, I think part of it also just stems from, I don't know if maybe it's just charisma, but there's something innate within her that naturally unifies people or unites people. And that goes all the way back to her parents, because they make it a point in her character lore to talk about how like her parents before she was born were fighting all the time because they're basically opposites. Like her mother is very like free-spirited and kind of reckless, but very passionate, and her father is like very like studious and knowledgeable but kind of reserved. And so they would fight all the time until she was born. And then when she was born, they stopped fighting because she kind of was like the bridge between them. Like her innate curiosity would inspire her father to become like more forthcoming with communicating. So he would like start opening up and talking more. And then her like bravery and her sense of adventure would scare her mom because she would just jump out and like try to do things. And her mom was like, oh my God, you're going to get yourself hurt. So that inspired her mom to kind of draw back on and, you know, like rein in her recklessness. So she kind of united her own parents from a very, very young age. So that kind of like natural like bridge type of thing that she has going on, like extended out to like the, you know, the masses.
Yeah, and I think it's shown too in the characterization of her is just shown in the way that the people talk about her. She is just shown as this very respected person who is very committed to their well-being, and she constantly knows what's going on in their head before they do. Like, she's always one step ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
like she just has a high emotional intelligence about it. Like she with Kanich, she's like, we
Yeah.
all need someone like Kanich around. Like I know people don't think that, but we do. She says, Jilona never backs down from a challenge. Like don't listen to her when she says certain things are hard. She's gonna get it done. It's that type of thing. Even with Auroran, she says, in my opinion, his true personality is very different from what he projects on the outside. He's like lava covered in ice. So she's a very interesting character, main character energy or not. I mean, she should be a therapist.
She's also one of those people that's like good at everything, like an albedo, because she like has a very wide variety of hobbies, but it says that she can sometimes surpass people that have spent decades honing a skill after just 1 year of practicing it. Which wouldn't that piss you off?
Oh, yeah.
I've been doing this for 30 years. And then
Uh-huh.
Moeka comes by and it's just like, oh, I did that for a year. And like, she's like way better than you.
It's like that one meme where it's like I've been doing this for 30 years. White girl did it in 1 week.
Yeah. And she do be white.
Yes, very. And, this is a kind of a fun way to turn the conversation a little bit too into some of the relationships that she does have across Teyvat. Now, as we know, most people in Natlan, they don't get to leave Natlan until the Archon War is over and things are settled. Because, like Bennett, if you leave Natlan, you have terrible, terrible luck. Because the ley lines are not on your side in Natlan, but even worse outside of Natlan. So because of that, she doesn't know the 7 Archons. And she's like, yeah, you guys probably know them better than me. Like, maybe you can introduce us one day. And she even brings that up during her story quest. Like, hey, maybe you can introduce me to them. I always forget you guys are all friends. Meanwhile, the Archons are very aware of her. Like, Zhongli thinks that she is a triumphant leader and impressive. Like I said, Venti thinks that it's really fucked up that she had to go through what she went through. But here's that she's a good drinker and wants to drink with her. Meanwhile, you have A, who is like, I want to meet her because I saw the fact that she destroyed the battlefield in Conria. And I got there and the battlefield was scorched on the level of the Mujunin Gorge. And she's learned that was because of the Pyro Archon and she wants to meet that power.
Of course,
Yeah.
A is only obsessed with power and eternity and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Pisses me off.
Oh, I like it though that she's like, we're both warriors. She like wants to like have a kiki with another warrior.
Meanwhile, though, Moeka is like, oh, I heard that the Raiden Shogun really likes the hot springs. Like, we should, like, vibe in a hot spring together. I like hot springs. So Moeka's like, we're gonna chill. And Shogun's like, we're gonna fight.
I mean, couldn't you just like get in a bathtub, Moeka, and just heat it up yourself?
Yeah.
She has hot springs in Natlan. Come on, guys.
Does she make the hot springs even hotter when she gets in?
Probably.
Yeah.
Now, Nahida doesn't really have a lot to say. She's just like, I'm really excited to welcome the Natlanese people with open arms.
Hmm.
And then you have Nouvelette. And Nouvelette is like, oh, she took the dragon's powers. Let's not forget.
Unforgivable sin.
Yes. And we're kind of like, like, that's not true. And he goes, you claim that historical records describe the battle as a formal duel and the victim's family was treated fairly? Complicated indeed, but a worthwhile consideration nonetheless. He's like, man, can I not be mad at this one?
Yeah.
And honestly, at this point, I was like, bro should be calling himself a Lawrence clan member because he's out for vengeance.
They deserve vengeance.
Okay, not the Lawrence clan. Just
No, the
but-
dragons.
No.
Apep wants vengeance at least.
Apep has a contract for my soul. They've got their vengeance.
Oh,
She's
what?
hungry,
That's
too.
the first I'm hearing of that.
Oh, yeah. Tiff and Brandon. It was a beautiful birthday gift from them one
Mhm.
year.
First hearing about whoever this Ruka Devada person is, now learning about Apep, it's like, what's wrong with you people in Sumeru?
There's a lot hidden in those sands.
Oh,
Not hidden in the trees. The only person outside of Natlan that she really has any connection with is Capitano and Mizuki. And I know we're going to have a lot more to say about Capitano, so I'll stay with Mizuki first. Basically, Mizuki, is trying to make hot springs a thing for mental health reasons, which is great. And she's been in Natlan, as we know, because Tiff and I were very confused the one day when we saw all of her shit there.
And we didn't read the sign that said she was making a new one.
Yes. And Mizuki has a voice line where she says, Lady Moika is the kind of person who shines so bright, just laying eyes on her is enough to warrant sunglasses. Like the actual sun, she has a way of burning away haze and illuminating darkness even with a simple handshake. And we do ask Mizuki if she's ever ate her dreams, and she's like, oh my god, no, 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 no. But once Moika let me taste them, and it was gross, and it tasted like volcanic ash, and I was like, bleh.
Oh, don't tell her that. Like, how embarrassing.
I know.
Did you notice, by the way, what Nihida says about her? Because I thought of you, Amanda, because I remember I think it was probably when we were doing one of the Natlan episodes, and you were like, why is there this whole war with the Abyss happening in Natlan, and none of the other Archons are going to offer to help?
Yes.
And did you see what Nihida says in her voice line about Moika?
Something about how the Abyss attacks them all in different ways.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. She's like, the Abyss attacks in ways that would be the most devastating for that region or that area. And so she says, in Sumeru, the Abyss attacked us through forbidden knowledge, and that was how their attacks on us manifested. Whereas in Natlan, they're doing it via vicious beasts or monsters. And she was kind of like, which I thought was kind of a cop out. She's like, we couldn't really help out with that. Like, that's not our thing. We don't do that. We don't fight big monsters here. It was like, come on, Nahida, like you could have helped fight the monsters.
To be fair, though, Nahida was trapped in like a bird cage for like the 500 years that she was born until recently. So it's not like she could have done much to begin with.
Well, but she came out of the birdcage and across the water.
Not like along the way, but at least during that big battle, like the big epic battle that happens. Where
Like, at least send someone like Tainari to heal. You know, like send your healers or something. Like,
yeah.
there was something they could have done. And it still upsets me that there was no real action from the other nations. But we see that with everything.
She does say she regrets not helping or something. So at least she acknowledges it.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where it's like every nation has had something happen, but Natlan and Fontaine specifically have had the most visually you're able to tell that something is happening. And for none of the Archons to even like be like, let me go take a peek at that. Like,
Yeah, well, for Fontaine's case, it's like Farina was trying to keep things under wraps for as long as she could. So she was actively trying not to get anyone else involved.
yeah, but once you see that flooding happening from afar, aren't you kind of like, I'm Venti. Let me fly over there real quick. That's my issue.
He was probably drunk in Angel Share with y'all here when y'all were recording the episode when that happened, probably.
Did you just blame us?
Yeah, what the hell?
No, I'm saying, all I'm saying is he was here while you were recording. Those two things are unconnected to each other. I'm just saying he could have been here at the time that happened.
Believe me, Venti's never here when we record. I never hear that.
Didn't you say it was here last time I was here, though?
I don't know. Was I drunk?
Maybe you were, because you were. Maybe you're drunk now because you said that my favorite person was Focalor. So
Well, I have an audio clip of that, so
I still haven't forgotten about that.
I'm gonna remix it.
Ooh.
It's gonna be like to a Pitbull song.
Please do, please do.
Make sure you sample the
Yeah, it's gonna be. I know you want Focalors. I know you want Focalors.
Well, I think this would be a good time to mention, though, while we're talking about the connections between Sumeru and Natlan, there has been a recent connection between Mawika and Nahida that I do think would be good to talk about right now while we're on the topic of it, although it does probably issue a spoiler warning.
So we're gonna say that for any travelers who have not done the most recent Archon quest that takes us back to the land of Sumeru, that you skip ahead maybe a minute or two.
Yeah.
And again, even still, I'll try and keep it as non-spoilery as I can. I'll just keep it to Mawika's part to it. To keep it non-spoilery as I can, in the Sumeru Archon quest that happens, Nahida is in need of a Gnosis. I'm not going to say why, not going to say why she needs it or anything. She just needs a Gnosis, but we know that in the last Sumeru Archon quest, she gave up both Electro Gnosis and Dendro Gnosis to Dottore. So she doesn't have one anymore. and now she really needs one. And obviously, like, none of the other nations have their Gnosis on hand. And Sumeru is kind of in a situation where they're kind of screwed without a Gnosis because they need it for the situation that's going on in that current Archon quest. However, there is one person who still does have their Gnosis, and that would be Mawika. Because if we remember in the Natlan Archon quest, Capitano, before he helped in Natlan or anything, he was there first and foremost on business from the Saritsa to obtain the Pyronosis. However, Mawika stood her ground and not only won against Capitano, but was also able to just successfully keep the Pyronosis throughout the entirety of the Natlan Archon quest. So she's kept her Gnosis this whole time, and the Saritsa never sent another Harbinger to try and get the Pyronosis from her. So she has the Pyronosis. So Nahida kind of calls up Mawika and is like, hey, Mawika, can you come meet me at the border of Sumeru? And so we get a scene of Nahida and the Traveler walking to the edge of Sumeru, and there's kind of like a border up that's like dividing both of them. Again, not going to get into the specifics of why, but there is. And we hear like the sound of a motorcycle, and we see Mawika come just riding in on her Flame Strider. And Mawika is like, hey guys, I hear that you need a Pyronosis. And Nahida explains the situation as to why she needs it for her people and whatnot. And Nahida assumes that she might have to like try and convince Mawika or whatever to hand it over. And Mawika is simply like, oh, yeah, totally. I understand. Here, you can have it right here. And she like tosses the Pyronosis to the Traveler, and the Traveler takes it. And Nahida's like, oh, I didn't expect you to be so understanding of it. And she's like, well, yeah, I mean, the Gnosis it's an extension of my power, but it's not where my power comes from. And like, I don't need it to protect my own nation. We have the people. We're like the nation of war. The people we're united. We don't need this Pyronosis to help us win should the Abyss come back one day or should another threat happen. And obviously, your nation is in great need of a Gnosis. I have a Gnosis on hand. It just makes sense for me to give you this.
Mawika's like, we have the power of friendship in Natlan. We're good.
Right.
And the power of Pyro.
And the power
Same
of Pyro.
thing.
As Durin loves to talk about, using the power of Pyro, of course.
Mhm.
But using the power of Pyro and friendship, she hands Nahida the Gnosis and even tells her, like, hey, don't worry, you can keep it for as long as you need it for. Like, I don't need it back anytime soon.
It's like a blender.
Yeah, pretty much. And so, again, won't say what Nahida uses it for or anything like that. But all that travelers need to know for Mawika specifically is that at the end of the Sumeru Archon quest, after the crisis is resolved in Sumeru, Nahida and the traveler go into Natlan to pay a visit to Mawika to let her know the situation of what's up with the Gnosis. And so we walk into the stadium of the Sacred Flame, and we see Mawika walk up, and she's like, oh, hey guys, how's it going? I'm glad to hear that like everything resolved like peacefully in Sumeru. You were able to solve that problem. And they go to like a little cliffside to just talk. And Nahida's like, I'm sorry, Mawika, I lost the Gnosis. Again, I'm not going to get into specifics of how that happened, but Nahida unfortunately lost the Gnosis in the process of using it for whatever she was doing. And Mawika is like, hey, you know what? It's okay. I'm not going to hold that against you. Like, obviously, I'm just happy it was able to be put to good use. And also, Mawika asks for Nahida and travelers just like sit with her, embrace the sun. And we just get a scene of like the three of them just like lying down on the grass, embracing the sun and just chatting away. And I feel like this is the first time. It's been a long time since we've seen two Archons interact with each other in such a way like this. Mm-hmm. I feel like the last time we had two Archons interact with each other, if I recall correctly, it was when Venti went over during one of the Lantern Rites to go eat with the whole Liyue gang, and Zhongli was there, and they were kind of having like a little like smug interaction with each other.
So good.
Like they know that it's each other, but like they're not going to say it or whatever. But they didn't really acknowledge each other as Archons, more as like, oh, who are you? Oh, who am I? But this is the only other one instance I can think of in the game where two Archons are interacting with each other. And we've even gotten like a lot of fan art with them afterwards of like Nahida chilling in the hot springs with Mawika. And it's like, I feel like it's a very healthy relationship now between Nahida and Mawika and Sumeru and Natlan. And to the point that you were making before, yes, Sumeru didn't really do anything to help Natlan when Natlan was having their crisis. But Mawika doesn't hold that against Nahida. And in fact, Mawika comes to Nahida's aid when Nahida asks her for help. And even when Nahida ends up losing the Gnosis, Mawika doesn't even hold that against her. She's just like, oh, it's all cool. You know, it's fine. I'm just glad you were able to use it. And so I feel like that whole example of that's the most recent time we've seen Mawika in the story. And I feel like she is still just as strong of a character as she was before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was going to say Nahida's a lot less petty than I would have been. I feel like Mawika is a lot less petty than me. I would be like, I don't know.
Can you imagine how embarrassed Nahida must feel? Not only did I not help you when your nation was screwed, you came and helped me, and then I lost your fucking Gnosis that you lent me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only been out of my bird cage for like 2 years, and I don't know what to do.
Think about it. Nahida has now lost 3 Gnosis.
It's true.
Yeah.
Look, I love Nahida. I think she's great. I think it makes sense. No. Oh, God. It's just like, it makes, I agree with her trading the Electro-Gnosis for destroying all the Dotori segments, because we saw how dangerous one version of Dotori could be in Nagcry. Imagine 7 of those around Tevat. I think that's a fair trade. But the Dendro-Gnosis, she only gave away for like quote unquote knowledge of the truth of this world, which is just kind of selfish in my opinion. Like, come on. Like, if you just kept your Dendro-Gnosis, you wouldn't be in this position where you would have to ask Mawika to loan her Gnosis, and then you ended up losing hers anyways.
But it wasn't selfish because she was doing it to find out information for us.
Did she end up telling us, though?
She was trying to get information about us being Descenders, and she barely got any knowledge on that.
Yeah, but still, it still
It wasn't worth it.
That's where we find out we're the 4th Descender, right?
Yeah. And that our sibling is in Irmsal, meaning they're from.
But yeah, our sibling is not a Descender.
Which is pretty important.
Yeah. Point is, though, Nahida has been in possession of 3 of the 7 Gnosis and has proceeded to lose all 3 of them.
In other words, don't let her hold your purse when you go to the bathroom at the club. She's going to just lose it.
Oh my god, I lent her my wallet last week.
She also had to be rescued in the first Sumeru Archon quest line. So like she's like looking real Kujo-Sara over here she's like the Kujo-Sara of Archons.
Oh.
And of course we love Nahida. But
Oh yeah. But
so just to go back to some of her other relationships across Tevat, she knows all of her people, and like I said, she just knows them like the back of her hand. And anytime she does something bad by her people, she feels bad. Like with Kachina, she blames herself that Kachina got stuck in the Night Kingdom, and she definitely feels bad about all the PTSD that Kachina is going to endure. And she's like stopped by and visited and given like gifts to her and her family. She helps Aoife at least once she's helped Aoife bring a Saurian to get help. She's very impressed by him. And she says that, people who don't get along with him, that's on them, not him. She knows that Ion-san was really bullied when she first got her ancient name, kind of similar to like what we see with Kachina during the Archon quest. And she's really hoping that like Chaska will get to have like a gentler life now that like things have settled. So she really loves and respects her people. And Moalani does drop the ball that Mawika surfs. Just throwing that out there, which is fun.
Do we know why she has a motorcycle?
She really wanted it. And she brought the blueprints to Gilonin.
Where'd she get the blueprints?
That is what Gilonin also questions.
She got them from the dragons.
Right, because it's like a phlogiston powered bike. Like there's no gas, no diesel.
Yeah.
Not in this economy.
Like she conceived of the motorcycle like a long time before she commissioned it to be made or commanded that it be made.
Yeah.
And
Forced Shalona to make it.
It all makes sense.
she had been gathering like the dragon tech, like because she would salvage like source mechanism pieces, like those little enemies that are like from the dragon days.
Mm-hmm.
So she has like dragon technology, and then she would find blueprints that the dragons made for like how to use them. And so she basically was like gathering all this dragon tech. So that's why that bike is so powerful.
Did anybody just picture a dragon on a motorcycle? Or
Every
is that
day.
just me?
Every day.
I mean, if Durin rides on the back of it with Malwika.
Oh my, that'd be so cute because
Yeah.
he'd probably wear a little helmet.
Oh, that would be cute.
Well, I'm imagining Malwika probably did. This would be really funny. Is she thought of the idea of the Flame Strider 500 years ago, but the technology was not all there. So she made blueprints for them and then took them with her into the Sacred Flame. And then 500 years later, she pops out. First thing she does is finds Shilonin, commissions the Flame Strider because now the technology is advanced enough.
Mm. That'd be kind of cool.
Also note that it took her 3 months to make the bike.
That's
I
not that
mean-
long when you think about it.
It felt like they were trying to save for Gilonin. It was long.
Oh, yeah, because she's like, this is interrupting my sleep.
Yeah.
Like, I have naps to take.
Also, a fun tie-in to our last episode. Mawika also plays tabletop games, but unfortunately, her favorite game, Saurian Sleuth, has been discontinued because it wasn't popular enough. So she'll have to go find the tabletop troupe and join
Yeah.
them and maybe get into a different game.
Yes, and her other hobbies include rock climbing and puzzle solving. And she's basically solves any new puzzle that hits the market way faster than like a new one can come out. So then she goes back and she starts resolving puzzles by putting like new limitations on herself. Like, oh, I have, in order to solve the puzzle this time, it has to be done this way. So she's like a big old puzzle nerd.
Yeah.
And in her character teaser, she sings, apparently. It's a whole band of Natlanese. It's our first characters are actually all playing with her, but she's literally singing. And she does a much better job than Hu Tao.
Oh God, I thought you were
Wow.
about to say Farina. We would have had a problem.
No. Yeah, no, she's not rapping in the Lantern Raid or anything, but she is singing. It's like her character trailer is basically a music video, and her band is Jalonin, who's obviously the DJ. Kadich is playing keyboard. Chaska's like Chaska, Aurora, and Mulani are like bass and guitar. Iansan is the drums because she's the most. It just, I don't know, that just makes the most sense.
And don't you think if someone asked Moika to rap, she would be smart enough to be like, you know what? Let's leave that
Yeah.
in the hands of someone who can do it.
And then Hu Tao shows up.
The best would be if she actually said that Tupac was a great rapper.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
That would be
Missed
so
opportunity.
My little Natlan friendship is power.
great.
Well, let's talk about our last relationship really that matters here with Mawika, which is Capitano, our Capri Sun.
Yes, Capri Sun.
So there's a lot of respect between the two of them. They have just met, and when they first meet, Capitano's trying to steal that Gnosis.
Yeah, I mean he's a harbinger. That's what he's there for.
He's number one of the Harbingers, which is surprising that out of all the other Harbingers, he's the one sent to it. I would assume that the Tsaritsa. Would the Tsaritsa have known about his Conrian origins? Or I guess would have Piero have known about his Conrian origins? Because they're both from Conria. Did they know each other in Conria pre-Cataclysm? Do we know that?
I don't think we know that.
Because
Yeah, I
if
don't
they
know.
if they did know each other, then maybe Capitano, the Cataclysm happened, Capitano goes to Natlan, Capitano takes on the souls of all of his fallen soldiers, and then sometime later, Piero finds him, gets in contact with him, and is like, hey, you want to join? It's like the Nick Fury Avengers thing, like, I'm putting together a team. You want to be the first one on the team. And so maybe that's how that happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They don't really talk a lot about Conrians and how they know each other besides Rerir and Dainsleif, really. And we know how the Five Sinners know each other now, but that's really it.
Yeah.
Maybe they got to choose. Maybe it was like, hey, who wants this one? Who wants this one?
Maybe. Oh God, could you imagine Dottore trying to get the Pyronosis instead?
There is an artifact set that sort of goes through Piero's conversations with some of the Harbingers, like when
Ooh,
he's
really?
recruiting them. But I can't remember if it covers Capitano. Like I know it involves like Rosaline's and some of the other ones, but I'd have to go back and reread it. I'm not sure if it mentions anything about Capitano.
They do have like an interesting relationship even in the Archon and stuff when we see them interact. They have that, like you said, their fight early on when she grabs Kanisha's sword.
Claymore.
What? Claymore, sorry.
I
Ooh,
love
that was
him.
weird. I totally forgot. I play with him. You'd think that would be like top of mind. But yeah, like I love I wish Capitano, and I don't think it'll ever happen. I wish he would come back because I would love to see more of them together.
You know, I won't say anything certain because obviously I still don't trust any leaks after people said, oh, the Farina story quest is going to get a second act, and then it never did. I have heard a few people say that Capitano comes back in Snezhnaya, and that could just be wishful thinking, and I think it is, but because every single patch, someone is saying that Senora is going to come back,
Yes.
and it still hasn't happened. So
She's not coming back. I want her to come back. She ain't coming back.
yeah, Capitano at least still has like a physical body still remaining, so I feel like he has a better chance of coming back than her, but still.
I feel like if we're going to see anything with Rosaline or Capitano in Snezhnaya, it's going to be flashbacks.
Which would be cool.
Yeah, it would be awesome. But I don't think we're going to see any forward story with them.
By the way, that artifact set I was referencing, it's the Pale Flame set.
Ooh, okay.
Huh.
Check that out.
Pale Flame does not reference Capitano. It goes through the recruitment of Senora, Dottore, Pantalone, and Wanderer / Scaramouche.
It's just Piero writing all of his regrets of inviting Dodore. I asked this psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
Are the artifact sets like, are those descriptions like canon in world? Because I know like the descriptions of like what they talk about are like canon and stuff, but like in universe, are those like descriptions known in Tevat? Because if they are, then that would put into question what the Scaramouche and Wanderer one would say if Wanderer has already control to lead himself from Irminsul.
Well, so most of them tend to be from a certain character's perspective. So like the Pale Flame set is from Piero's perspective. Like he's telling the story.
But I think he's only telling us the story. He's not it's not like it's a book that the regular Tevat people can go pick up and read.
Right. And that makes sense because the one that we did this season about the Voyager, like most people don't know that stuff. Like, but you do get little snippets of it from Nicole.
Yeah.
But she's telling people that don't know anything about it.
The finale of the Deep Galleries.
Yes, thank you.
I don't think I understand the name of that. Finale of the Deep Galleries. I'm like, what? What the hell? It's a weird name to me for some reason.
But
anywho,
let's get back on track here. We were talking about Capitano and Moeka. Like, what are the thoughts?
Capri Sun. I mean,
they're both self-sacrificing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is like the through line between the two of them. And I especially love, I mentioned it earlier before, but they're little like back and forth arguing with each other about which method is best to save Natlan. Capitano, he tries to go for the way that'll immediately get the abyss out, whereas Mavuika is taking the more thoughtful approach of like, yes, we could do that, but the memories will be gone, and without our memories, like, what even are we? What will the future people of Natlan will look like? Will this place still even be Natlan? You're saving the land, the physical land of it, but you're not saving the people. You're not saving the memories. And so they have like a philosophical debate back and forth on that. And eventually Capitano does yield. And he's like, okay, fine. I'll go with whatever your plan is, but you better have your ducks in order, because her plan requires the 6 heroes of Natlan. And at that time, she only had 4 of the 6. And then, of course, Ororon unlocked his ancient name, and now she had 5. And then after that, I especially love how after they get their little like debate out of the way, and after Capitano is on our side, he's like a key member during the fight against the Abyss. Like he saves Sheolonen's neck multiple times in like that one cutscene where he's just fighting the big Abyss, like Hilichurls and Metaturals and all that stuff. And he's just awesome with like his cryo sword going out of the way, just slashing things down. He's like an MVP of that fight. And then even afterwards, it's just the conversations that he has with Mavuika. It just feels like kind of like, oh, mom and dad are fighting, guys. Like, it's just funny to see them like talking with each other and just have debates with each other. And they both want what's best for Natlan. And it's fascinating because we, the Traveler, even end up asking him like, hey, why aren't you still trying to go for the Pyronosis? And he responds like, I already did that once. I was here first and foremost for the Tsaritsa's business, but I tried that. I lost. I'm going to own that loss. And now there's something far more important that we need to be dealing with. And I'm going to be help dealing with that. And he specifically mentions that the Tsaritsa wants them to take the Gnosis to her, but she still lets the Harbingers do whatever they want, whatever their life goals are. She doesn't control them to the point where they have to do what she wants or they will die or whatever. No, she has like a pretty like light rein on them, which kind of does come to bite everyone in their ass when Dottore starts to try and control everything and Nodcry and stuff and goes off the rails. But that's neither here nor there. When talking about Capitano specifically, it's like he wants to help Natlan out. He can do that. The Tsaritsa isn't going to tell him that he can't. And I'm sure that even if she did tell him that he couldn't, he would probably just ignore her anyways, because to his central story, it's far more important to save Natlan than just to get the Pyronosis. And so I really enjoy Capitano's dynamic with Mavuika. I feel like that's like the strongest relationship Mavuika has is with Capitano because of how similar their ideologies are on things, but then how they disagree on certain other aspects.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's part of the fun of their ship too, is that there is a little tension between them, but that, ultimately they're on the same side.
Yeah. And then, of course, it does, like I said earlier, it also does culminate in Capitano stopping Mavuika from being the one to sacrifice her own life for Renova. And he tells her, like, no, the people need you. I'm going to be the one to do this. Watch me sacrifice myself instead. And he goes and sits on that throne. And of course, he has that whole like spout back and forth with Renova, where basically if he goes and sits on that throne, it's kind of creating a paradox type of moment.
Yeah.
I feel like it was not as selfless as it seems.
Right.
He didn't just do it for her. Like he was like, I need this.
Yeah, he did it for multiple reasons. One of them was to stop her because she is the leader of Natlan. He doesn't want to see her doing it. But the main reason was because for his character arc, he wanted to release all the souls that he'd been keeping from the fallen soldiers in like his heart and soul this whole time. And the only way he could see himself doing that was to create this like paradoxic type of deal with Renova. Because as long as the souls are still inside of his body, it's been a long time since Natlan, so forgive me if this is incorrect, but I believe how it works is as long as the souls are still stuck inside of Capitano, he cannot die. Like his body has eroded to the point where he has to wear a mask.
Right.
But if he goes and takes the deal where he takes the debt of death from Renova, that needs to kill himself. So then the paradox is, does he die or not?
Well, he's Conrian too, right? Like,
right.
That would be why it can't die. He's
yes,
cursed.
Right. Sorry, that's why. Yes. And so, of course, he asked Renova, because Renova is the one that placed the Curse of Immortality over all the Conrians. We saw in like the Shades trailer, and like Piero was there when she did that as well. And so this is kind of like Capitano's get back moment where like, haha, it like you can like. One of two options is going to happen. Either I'm going to sit on that throne and a paradox could potentially happen, which could rip Teyvat open as a whole, and that would be on you, Renova, or you can lift the Curse of Immortality off of me now. And of course, Renova is like, no, bitch, I'm not doing that. Go ahead and sit on it. We'll see what happens. And of course, he does.
Enjoy your chair.
Yeah,
for
and
eternity.
He does, and the souls of all the fallen soldiers from Natlan that he carried with him, they all like release back into the ley lines because of the deal that he also made with the Lord of the Night. What's her
Mhm.
name? I'm forgetting. And that's how his story ends. And I like his story is such a great story by itself, but it is also enhanced by the relationship that he has with Mavuika as well.
Yeah.
Definitely. So there is one other thing I'd like to bring up about Moeka, and that is just that she has this sun motif about her. You know, they call the first Pyro Archon the first sun. Her outfit description says she is the sun that walks among us. Her name card is the sun crowned. And I just wanted to know what your guys' thoughts were on that, because I always thought that the star slash sun on her clothing and her earrings looked very much like the Conrian star. And so do you think that has anything to do with Conria not having a sun? Because we know that they were similar to Enhanomiya in the fact that they were living in the dark and needed a false light source.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that. I thought it was just supposed to look, is it Aztec? An Aztec sun?
It just looks like
making
the
that up?
door to me, like, you know?
Yeah, I think I looked at it more of the IRL Aztec motif, the area, the being, you know, I don't want to call it, they don't call it a desert, but it's hot.
Yeah.
Like the plains and stuff. So I've always kind of looked at it as it fit the IRL historical side of it. I never really looked at it as a connection to the Conrian lack of sun. And there's just being like the whole fires, like heat, pyro, like that, just all is very solar in general.
True, yeah. That's why I was just wondering if you guys thought maybe there was an underlying possible.
It's definitely an interesting theory, though.
They do look similar. Like, I always thought the Conrian symbol looked more like a star.
Me too,
But the
yeah.
sun, I mean, the sun is a star. So
Oh my god, science.
Is it?
I don't know. I was really surprised by the logic. I'm sorry.
like they
was
do look
fantastic.
similar. I think the Conrian one is like a little more elongated.
Okay.
Yeah, the Conrian one reminds me like celestialish.
Yeah.
Even though they hated
But
them
they do
gods.
look like they could be related. So there's something to that. I think that's interesting.
The only other thing I would talk about in terms of Mavuika as a character would be her design, what she looks like, because that was a point of contention when she first came out. And obviously, Natlan as a whole is a point of contention when it comes to a lot of aspects. And I'm not going to get into all of that because this is mainly the Mavuika centered one. But for Mavuika in specifics, I remember watching the first like character reveal trailer of Natlan and hearing like Mavuika's voice throughout it all. And then we see her show up and she's in this like motorcycle biker getup. And I remember being very confused at first because like all the other characters in Natlan that we've seen up to that point are like wearing more like, I guess, like not as dark clothing, not as like latex looking clothing.
Not a zipper up the crotch.
Yes, that especially got some people like really confused. And so seeing her like wearing like those shades that she takes off and it's just like wearing the biker get up, it had me really confused. And so the only possible conclusion that I could have come to was like, okay, there has to be like a motorcycle coming in Natlan or something. And I'm glad there was, because otherwise her getup would make no sense if she's not like riding a bike or something like that. And this is a point of contention, I know, for like Rand specifically, our main host on the Resonance. He hates the fact that Mavuika rides like a motorcycle, because one of the things for him is that he feels like some parts of Natlan are a bit too modern and like lose a little bit of like the fantasy element. And that's like one of the issues that some people have with Natlan. And I can understand that to a certain degree. It doesn't really make me upset personally, because I see each region as doing its own things separately. I don't see them all really combined as much. So for Natlan to be a more like modern type of aesthetic, I feel like is fine, because we still have the fantasy style like Mondstadt, the Chinese theme like Liyue, the more like French British like mecha inspired Fontaine. And so for me, I feel like it's fine that we have like a more modernized theming at least when it comes to like the DJ booth and the roller
Yeah.
skates and the surfboards and the motorcycle. But I can see
Well-
how that can be a bit of a disagreement for some others.
Yeah, I totally get that. And it honestly bothered me more at first, but then
Yeah.
to me it makes more sense now that I know that a lot of the stuff could be like leftover tech from the dragons, and the dragons were like very technologically advanced. Like all of the sovereign dragon lords were AI basically. So there's a lot of like really advanced technology that was going on with the dragons, which is like a weird dichotomy to have.
I was going to say, it was unexpected in itself that they were going to be so high tech. It was almost like the dinosaur. I thought it was going to be the dinosaurs that got attacked by, like, you know, the meteor. Like,
Mhm. Attacked
Meteor.
by them. Oh my God, I'm going to refer to it that way from now on.
I mean, that's what happened.
They were attacked by the meteor.
But Melty, what I want to know is, how did Rand feel when we pulled out the spaceship to the hibernation? I mean, the key to the hibernation chamber in our
Oh
spaceship.
God! Needless to say, we kind of agree with you in the fact that like this is just straight up a retcon, because up to this point this hasn't been mentioned at all, and then suddenly Paimon's like, "Oh yeah, that's the key to your hibernation chamber on the spaceship you landed in." It's like a hibernation chamber.
All of us flipping our heads over, like, what?
Tiff was like throwing herself out of a window.
Yes.
It feels like it's a bit late in the game to suddenly introduce something as important as that.
Yeah.
As a hibernation chamber, like, and a key. Like, I'm like, guys, I've had, like, what?
Yeah.
My
The
favorite
dragons
was
are
the-
getting very sci-fi.
Yes, it is.
Ooh.
You're right.
It's getting a little too honkai is what it is.
I mean, it is Honkai.
No.
True. We're gonna break open the false sky and like we're gonna see someone coming down, and it's gonna be the Astral Express. It's like,
All
hey
right,
guys,
we need to get to
Yes,
mail. Let's
and
move this on.
You know who's going to be
will-
driving the Astral Express? Kiana.
No.
I did just want to add, though, like, I agree with Brandon, where I was, like, really unsure at first about the modern stuff. I was like, we're DJing. But I do appreciate it more knowing that these are a lot of technologies that Moeka has found, basically, and made Jinlonen make. And I think it's really cool to see how progressive the nations could be if they went back and used some of this ancient technology as a whole. Like, what is stopping the other nations from also getting their hands on some of this? And I think we see a little bit of that with that one event where, like, all of the nations' mililiths are coming together to fight and, like, train together and learn from one another. And so I am curious, as we extend our circles out in Teyvat, if we will see more of this, like, technology everywhere as opposed to just in Natlan.
I feel like Aloy would really feel at home in that land.
You should go there.
We were
Instead of
talking last
Mondstadt, where she's
episode.
actually from.
You should
Yeah,
go
we
there.
were talking about like where she is. And I feel like she's probably in that land somewhere.
Thank God, because I told you it wasn't Mondstadt.
Well, she still lived in Mondstadt.
She's making out
still
with
a
Camille.
Mondstadtian character.
I never saw her citizenship card.
Aloy and Kamich, that's my new shit.
Oh,
she fell
my.
into the spiral abyss and she hasn't been seen since, and that's why we haven't gotten any more crossover characters.
I heard someone yeeted her into the abyss, but it wasn't me.
Tupac's back.
Oh my God.
She went to KFC.
But anyway, we're heading over to mail because those Krumkakes did not last long, and Kirara is giving us the evil eye.
Hopefully she's not giving me the evil eye anymore.
Giving us all the evil eye today.
Well, I'll take all of this over just me last time.
Yeah.
So, our first message is going to come from Matthew, and they said, if you could change any of the character's elements, who would they be, or what weapon type would you change the character to? For example, I would change Kuki from Electro to Cryo, or Mika from Cryo to Dendro. Weapon-wise, though, I think I would make Razor a sword user instead of a claymore, or Sethos a bow instead of polearm.
You want to know what's really funny about this question?
Yeah.
Last time I was on, we got a very similar question that was also like, if you could ask, if you could change a character's element, what would it be? And so last time I said I would change Eon-san to Pyro because for the nation of Pyro of Natlan, only Mavuika is the only Pyro character there. and so I feel like Eon-san would be changed to Pyro. I'm going to give a different answer this time.
Okay.
And I thought about it, and I like that there's an inclusion that you can change someone's weapon instead. I had to think about it, but I do have an answer for this. I feel like it'd be really funny for Raiden Shogun. We know that she uses a pole arm, but for her ultimate ability, she brings out a sword from, like, I guess her boob window or whatever.
Her titty sword.
Her titty sword. I want to reverse it, where she has the sword she uses primarily, and then for her ultimate, instead of like grabbing into her boob and grabbing the titty sword, she launches back as like the spear launches out of her boobs, and then she grabs the spear and then uses the spear to cut down. I feel like that'd be really funny. So make her
just pulls out like an elaborate bow out of there.
So you want to replace the titty sword with the boob spear.
Yes, boob spear, and then normal electro sword.
Boob kebab.
Oh my god.
The boob kebab.
Oh my god.
Oh, I find it very funny that Dory doesn't actually touch her weapon.
Yeah.
Her Jin does it all for her. But I think it would be funny, like, if she was actually like a bow, like if the Jin had to like pull out a whole ass bow and do it for her instead of just the sword.
And it was like
moving around.
really bad at aiming.
Yeah. It would be me. I'm a blob and I can't shoot for anything. That would be the character, the actual, for the side of like their elements and stuff. I don't know. I tend to feel like most people, I get why they have their certain characters, like why there are certain elements and stuff. So I don't really have an answer for that one, but the Dory one just stuck out in my head and really just made me laugh a lot.
I have a whole list.
Of course
you do.
Oh boy.
No, it's actually a pretty short list. And I don't have any weapons that I would change. I'm sure I could think of some if I really went through, but for the most part, the weapon types seem okay to me. But there are some characters whose elements feel a little off. Like, I do think that Veressa feels more pyro than electro. I think Prune seems very electro. I think Ito is very pyro. I think Arlecchino seems cryo, even though that kind of screws up her whole like mythos. Charlotte feels like she should be Dendro, maybe. And so does Yanfei.
Yanfei as Dendro?
Yeah.
Nerdar. For me, this was really hard for me. But I wish that Linny and Lynette were the same weapon type. Because we see with like Kale, she's a bow user like both of her mentors, Amber and Tainari. It would be nice to see that Linny and Lynette also both train the same way. And I also wish that Diluc and Kaya were also the same for the same reason. Like, it feels like they grew up together and they probably like learned together. And the fact that one is a claymore user and one is a sword user is definitely a little odd to me. Element-wise, I don't really got a lot I want to change. I'm pretty comfortable with the elements as of right now.
You would just make Tainari a healer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it would just make sense.
And Kale, they would both be healers. Oh, and you know what? I wish Kaveh was a catalyst. Him and his, Marok should be his weapon.
So you can just throw Marok around?
Yes. Marok should be like,
Maracas.
Marok's eyes should like shoot lasers.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
That'd be good.
But thank you, Matthew, for your question.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you.
Our next message comes from Celix, and they asked, do you think you'd ever do a Varka episode? Because I'd love to see one.
Now that we know that he's not an old creep, like, I still want him to be.
Melty, what are your thoughts on Varka? Like, 2 to 3 sentences. Like, what do you think about him?
I would say over at the Resonance, our opinion on Varka is a lot less hostile than yours takes on him. Me personally, I always heard about him like secondhanded about like you said, the old like little grumpy dude who's just like leaves all the work for Jean. But after meeting him in Nodcry, I think he's just one cool guy. Like, obviously, still he loves to leave his work for Jean and stuff. And yeah, he is kind of just annoying at times, but like I think he's just kind of an awesome dude. Like, he dual wields claymores. He drinks and stuff. Funnily enough, that's one of the other relationships Malwika has with Varka. Varka went to Natland to do something, got drunk in a drinking competition with Malwika, lost, then forgot what he was doing there and left.
Yes.
So that's funny.
So funny.
I think Varka is just a great character from what we've seen. And I think his story quest is one of the better ones we've gotten, especially like how it ends and stuff. And so I would say I really enjoy Varka from what we've seen. And I feel like you guys should be a little bit nicer on Varka, especially after his contributions to Nodcry.
First off, we haven't really
Never.
talked about Varka that much since our episode about Jean, which was very controversial, apparently.
Which at the time, before we knew him, was a very, I don't know, I think it was a very even type of opinion to have
It
on
was
him.
still
Like,
85% correct.
yeah. Yes.
It's true.
Like, our main issue with him was that he left all of his work on Jean's desk and was like, peace out, Cub Scout.
Yeah. I'm going out to go drink. Have fun.
And I will say, when Varka went to Natlan, as Melty said earlier, he was like, man, I wish I was born in Natlan because then I could fight Moeka. And then he's kind of like, but then I couldn't be the hero of Mondstadt. And it's like, bro, really? That's why? Is that because I couldn't protect my people? It's because I couldn't be the hero. Like, he still has a very hero main energy complex about him, regardless of how much good stuff he does. And I'm not taking that away from Varka, of course.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's back in Mondstadt now, so like maybe the workload on Jean won't be so hard anymore.
He ran away, Melty. Do you not remember that? Jean brought in that paperwork and he like beautifully walked out the door.
Look, tomato. Like,
That's not
like,
a tomato. That's like a pomegranate versus
How
a grape.
Counter argument. How do we know that character trailer didn't happen before he left to Nodcry?
Regardless of when it happened, he still did it. He was like, bye, bitch.
All
Like,
I'm
you
saying
got
is, I think characters can change. I think y'all should give Varka another chance.
We've given him a chance. We don't hate him.
Not
Really?
anymore.
I kind of do. Well, hate's a strong word, but I still
Varka
don't
makes me
really
emotional.
like him. I don't really like him. But I'm happy to do an episode on him.
He's a bro, right? Like, he's kind of a white knighted, self-centered Ito.
My
Yes.
newest issue with Varka, honestly, is the hiring of Lohan.
Yeah.
I actually saw a comment on Twitter today that said, if my first impression of the Knights of Favonius was Lohan, I would never go to Mondstadt.
That is
I was like-
unfortunately true.
But, like, I mean, Varka literally, like, Lohan tries to poison him and he giggles. Like, Varka, maybe we should second guess our decisions.
You guys don't understand. Just game recognizes game.
Listen, I adore Lohan on a terribly sadistic way. I love that he kicks, and his newest trailer, amazing. But the decision of hiring him is very debatable. We'll see when I play his quest, of course.
I guess.
We're open to a Varka episode. We actually had hoped that this season we would have been able to open with a Varka episode because we always open with a Mondstadt episode. And it was it this season or last season we hoped to open with Varka and then we didn't have enough. I think it was this season.
I think it was. It's funny. I think I have a little different of a memory. I think it was you were like, Mondstadt, it should be Varka, and we're like, Sucrose doesn't have one yet. Varka's not
We were
even
like,
in the game.
absolutely not.
And you're like, nope, fuck that bitch.
And then I went, we will do parallelogism.
You went with neither choice.
It was before we had Varka. Like,
yeah,
in the
we didn't
game.
have enough info on him when we started the season. I mean, we started our season in September. So we had barely been in Nodcry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's be real. Doing parallelogism set us up for the season. So
was great, yeah.
like Sucrose wouldn't have done that.
I guess the question is next season then, are you going to start with Varka or are you going to finally do Sucrose?
Sucrose.
We'll see.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It won't be
I'll be
Sucrose.
waiting
It
with
won't be
bated
sucrose.
breath.
It will not be sucrose.
Maybe one day she'll get mentioned in an episode. But
If we
anyway,
do a Varka episode before a Sucrose episode, I will spend the whole episode talking about Sucrose.
oh no. See, now I'm being put into a hard corner because we
See
really
what you did, Celix. Look what you did.
I don't even want to think about planning next season now.
But listen to all the Varka lovers, because I know there's a lot of them out there. I promise when we do our Varka episode, I will approach it with an open mind.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I also want to make it clear that like we appreciate what Varka has done in the good lights, but we think he's messy.
He does have good qualities for sure.
He does have good qualities, and he like I said, I get emotional with things that Varka says and does sometimes, but he can still be like that weird uncle. So
I think that's the problem.
anyway, thank you, Celix, for your question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all the time we have for today, travelers. If you like this episode, you can feel free to email Albedo at talesofdevotpod@gmail.com, where he will vet through, make sure there's no anthrax or acid, honestly, at this rate, and he'll pass along your messages so we can find out if you like this episode or what topics you'd like to see in the future. Travelers can also feel free to check out our Ko-fi, where you can buy us a cup of coffee, or check out our merch store, where all proceeds go to funding this podcast, which includes our editing softwares and our web hosting, and also making sure the Twink Tank can run properly, especially during this here Pride Month. Travelers can feel free to follow us on Instagram, Tales of Tavot Pod, or on Twitter, Tales of Tavot. We're also on Threads, Blue Sky, and YouTube under the same handles. Melty, where can travelers find you and the Resonance moving forward? And of course, anything Melty says will be linked in the episode description.
Well, travelers can find me, obviously, the main host. No, just the co-host. I'm part of a show called The Resonance. We are a weekly Genshin Impact podcast. We talk about more of the current, modern, everyday going on things that are happening currently in the game. Like I said earlier, we're currently going over, at the time of recording, the newest Sumeru Welcome Moon quest, and that's been a lot of fun to talk about. Can't wait to see you guys talk about that one of these days. That'll be cool too. They can find us by looking up The Resonance on Spotify or anywhere else you listen to any type of audio. And yeah, we'll be happy to hear you. Well, no, you'll be happy to hear us, obviously, but we'll be happy to hear any feedback that you give us. And we have our own Discord server as well, the Resonance Discord server. It's linked below in our Spotify playlist and any of where you listen to any of the music. So yeah, that's where you can find us. And I would like to thank you all once again for bringing me on another time. I didn't know if after last time you'd have enough of the Melty, but
No, never
Oh, yes.
enough.
Never enough Melty.
Never.
thank you for having me on. If there's one thing that I wanted all travelers listening to this episode specifically to take away, last time it was Farina is my favorite and everyone should love Farina. This time it's Mavuika is the GOAT. Natlan might have a lot of problems. Mavuika, in my opinion, ain't one of them. And I hope that by the end of this episode, I will have convinced someone out there that Mavuika should be deserving of at least top 3 Archon status, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. Also, be sure to check out Melty's soon-to-be Smash Broadway musical, Moika 10.
Moika
So what did I miss? So that's what she was singing when she came out of the
Yeah.
sacred flame.
Post Yeet.
Well, Melty, we love having you on, and we can't wait to have you on again next season for whatever topics we end up picking. Not, she who shall
Not
not be
sucrose.
named.
Maybe that's a topic that I'll demand out of you guys next time.
I feel like we have to do Farazan before Sucrose. Anyway,
You already did Farazan.
Farazan.
You did that
Forgot
this
about
season.
Farazan? I mean, she got yeeted a couple times.
I
but-
always forget about Feruzan. I'm so sorry, Feruzan.
Anything to get out of sucrose.
Yeah.
Honestly, sorry.
She's like, I'd rather do Farazan twice than Sucrose.
Well, the amount of times that Feruzan was on the docket and then got cut, I feel like she
Yeah.
deserves a second episode. But anyway, travelers, next time we are going to be talking all about Where the Springs Return, which is the world quest / Moalani story quest for the people of the springs in Natlan. So we'll be staying put and continuing our stories here in the nation of Pyro. Until then, safe journeys, travelers. We will see you next time.
Bye, byes, and gays, and most importantly, trans people and sweet little baby NBs. Happy end of Pride Month. Take care of each other and stay alive.